What's up, everybody? It's Jason.
And Bill.
With another fucking episode of Nothing's for No One, featuring our guest, Mr. Nathaniel P. Madden, in the building.
Hi.
Through a screen.
What's up, guys?
What's going on, Nate?
Not a whole lot. I'm just kind of basking in the glow of the room that you guys are in.
Nice, yeah. Hell yeah. So we're...
wonderful to see you guys on a Sunday.
Yes, indeed. It is indeed wonderful to see you on this fine Sunday evening before Christmas. So I hope everybody had a great Christmas, because this will be after that, right? Yeah, technically. Yeah. So Merry Christmas
it'll
to
be
all.
Almost New Year's.
Hope you guys didn't get a bunch of coal. But yeah, we are here for the 6th episode of the Death Metal Edition. And we got some doozies for you today. We got some Deeds of Flesh, we got some Ulcerate, we got some Oppressor, and not in that order. So, yeah. How you living? Living large and in charge?
Yeah, definitely, man.
Hell
Life's
yeah.
pretty good, all things considered, all the craziness that's been going on in the world.
Yeah, that's good.
You know, I have to say it was wonderful doing the homework this week to listen to these albums, because
hell yeah,
they're all cool, and you know, I love just listening to death metal and talking to you guys about it.
Fuck yeah, man. Yeah, these were all cool picks. I enjoyed all of them.
And it was a nice kind of change where you and I both picked, albums that came out in 2020.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd always kind of been picking the older stuff, kind of using this as an opportunity to go back in time. And Bill picked a Chicago classic death metal album.
Oh, yeah. Big time. Big time. Well, shit. Shall we get started?
Sure. I guess I can kick it off. Like I said, I've never gone first before. But
yeah.
That just means I've had only one White Claw before this.
There you go, man.
So I don't know how far in the future some people will be listening to this podcast, but I should say that this is December 20th of 2020.
Yep.
Obviously an insane fucking year.
Mm-hmm.
The album that I picked is by a wonderful band called Ulcerate, and it's called Stare Into Death and Be Still.
Yeah, be still, man. Don't move.
This album, I had to reference the date, just in case I'm listening to this or someone's listening to this far in the future, because this album actually came out right in the middle of the beginning of the pandemic, and probably close to the height of the first wave on April 24th, 2020. And Ulcerate is a band that I love, that I respect. They're one of those bands, they're can't miss live band. I've always been, anytime they're going to come here, I'm fucking there.
Yeah, same.
And I think that the other, you guys probably feel the same way.
Oh yeah.
Before the pandemic, I was definitely very excited for this release. But in the throes of the early, essentially the first month still at that point,
sure,
maybe first month and a half, I was in a very weird place when this record came out. I wanted to love it. I wanted to listen to the whole thing front to back, and I kept trying to do it. I kept putting it on, and I just couldn't. And that wasn't because it's not a great album, because it is. It's because my own mental state was so fucked up, I couldn't listen to metal at all.
Sure.
And I was struggling. I wasn't listening to any of my favorites. I was barely listening to music.
Damn.
It was just sort of like the uncertainty of the future, with regards to not just music and live shows, which is still kind of uncertain, but just life in general.
Yeah.
So back in April, I didn't really listen to this, and I kind of had this guilt complex about it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I'd even talked with you all about how at some point I was going to pick this record, but since we have to do 3 of them, and it's usually about a week's notice, it's an hour long. So
sure.
It's a little bit of a dense experience. But that being said, I'm very, very stoked that I chose it for this end of 2020 episode, because it might be my favorite album of 2020. As someone who's not super informed, it's definitely my favorite metal album of 2020.
Hell yeah.
Like I said, it was obviously a very slow burn for me. It took me a while to get into it. It can be a bit daunting because it is very long. It's, I think, 57 minutes. It's close to an hour long for, I think it's 8 songs or 9 songs.
I'm going to pull up the stats.
But I fucking love this album. I mean, I think it's the best Ulcerate album. It's definitely my favorite Ulcerate album that they've done.
Wow.
It's very dark. I mean, I guess, they're one of those bands that's great and kind of hard to describe. I think calling them atmospheric death metal is fair.
Yeah.
Just as if you look at their whole catalog, really the only super, kind of reverb delayed out thing on this record though is the vocals and the clean guitars.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite things about this record is I really feel like the band honed their sound in, like particularly with the guitar riffs. Like, they're a 3-piece band. They have, one guitar and a bass player that does vocals and an amazing drummer named Jamie St. Murat, who everyone should know if they don't know. And the guitar riffs, I think, are much more geared towards performing them as one guitar live. Like, I don't think there are too many parts on the record that the guitar player, his name is, I looked that up, Michael Hoggard. I have really bad handwriting. It's in my notes. The first time I saw them, I think you guys must have been there. It was at Cobra Lounge.
Yep.
I was blown away. They only had one guitar and he was playing through two amp stacks and looping shit.
Oh yeah.
Like, how do you do this when you're playing death metal? Like, how do they even know what's going on? I think that, they were kind of capturing the sound of the previous albums. Like, at that time they were probably, that might have even been before Shrines of Paralysis came out. I don't really remember what year it was. That album came out in 2016. They might have been touring on Destroyers of All at that point, but
they were
definitely a great.
I think they were touring on Vermis when we saw them.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like 99% sure they were touring on Vermis, which was their first album on Relapse.
Wow. Well, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
I remember. I think we had like a practice-based party at the old Music Garage before the show.
Yep.
And then went over.
Yeah, it was a wild show too, man.
Those were great times.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? To my surprise, I fucking loved this record. I will admit, I'm an Ulcerate fan for sure. Like, when it comes to the bare bones of it, like, I was definitely very, very into them when, like, my favorite record of theirs is probably, it's either a toss up between Everything Is Fire or Destroyers of All. But they didn't, like, Ulcerate didn't start out as, like, really like an atmospheric band. They were more of like a technical grind, like technical death metal band. Like, their first album of Fracture and Failure, like, it's way different than what they did now. And then I want to say they were like either a 4 or 5 piece on that record too. And then they did their next album just as the 3 piece, and they just started honing in on that sound on Everything Is Fire. But I would probably just say those are my favorite records by them because of like nostalgia sake. But this album, I would say it's definitely my favorite out of like everything they've done since then. I think it's awesome. I was definitely like caught off guard because like I look at a band like Ulcerate, and while I admire them so much as musicians, as songwriters, and just as a band, it's a lot. They're a very dense band. Their music is super dense. It's really hard to take in. Like, I couldn't listen to this album in one sitting. I tried. I couldn't do it. I had to do it in 2 separate sittings because there's just so much going on. And like you said, it's like a 58-minute record. But I really enjoyed it, man. It definitely like it's almost like I want to call it like Ulcerate with hooks. Like, there's riffs that I like remember and parts where I'm like banging my head to it, and I'm getting to certain songs and I'm like, wow, like I really like. There's almost like more of a melodic sensibility to it. I feel like this time around.
That's why I love it.
Yeah.
I was going to mention that eventually. I mean, I think the biggest quote unquote, like you could even call a hook, is in the title track, Stand Death and Be Still. At the it's kind of like the whole outro. And yeah, I mean, I guess in terms of like the drumming and the overall stuff, it's kind of a little bit more, it's a little bit simpler. And I think maybe that's why I love it. Ulcerate was always a band for me that was hard to get into on record. And even, like I said, even this record, I really had to get into the mood of the album by kind of like starting it and then starting it halfway through and then kind of trying to listen to it in reverse order. But now, like the last few times I listened to it, I can get through it front to back, or I can pretend it's on vinyl and do the first half and do the second half.
Sure.
And it's because of that kind of somber mood. Like, once you get into it, I feel like you might not even notice when the songs change unless they're they use these clean guitar. They're not interludes. They're usually intros to songs, like the song "There Is No Horizon," the song "Visceral Ends," and the song "Dissolved Orders." All have like very, very similar clean guitar with delay intros. They're not the same, but they they sound like they're similar notes, like a similar spacing.
Yeah.
I fucking love the guitar playing, man. It inspires me. It makes me want to write stuff that sounds like it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say enough good things about that. And it's interesting because I always thought of Ulcerate as like that band with the sick drummer, because anytime you see them live, it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
James Saverat is just fucking ripping. I mean, the last time I saw them, I believe was at Reggie's.
Yeah.
And whoever their front of house sound engineer had the drums, specifically the overheads, which at a venue like Reggie's is not that common, cranked up. And I loved it. I was like, I could stand right at the sound booth or even like closer and hear all the cymbal work, all like the kind of, because I mean, there's a lot of fills that he does that are, yeah, he'll use the toms, but it's not like a stereotypical death metal, like I'm just going to roll on my toms and snare and like show you I can play fast. It's a little bit more like textural. And man, I don't know. I have to say, like, I love the production, even though I will, now that I've listened to the mixes in a bunch of different places, it doesn't always transfer well. Like certain sets of headphones I would listen in, the vocal effects, I was just like, this is too much. Like I love the delay, but they should take it down sometimes when they're playing faster. You know, there are times where like I felt like the drum balance was off, but like it sort of depends on how much low end you're listening. Like the headphones that I'm currently using now actually have more low end than the other pair that I normally listen to on, and it just makes the whole mix sound different. I'm like, oh, I can hear the bass when I listen to it on these. Yeah, you know. But I think of these 3 records that we chose in terms of just painting a picture of the band, was by far my favorite in terms of like the sonics of it. Yeah, it's great. It's so good. I just loved it. Like, I really like that song Inversion. It's like in the middle. I want to say it's like the 5th or 6th song on the record. Let me check. I think it's the it's the 5th one. It's the 5th song. Yeah, the 5th song. I thought like at that point of the record, I was like completely hooked in, and I was like, wow, this is really sick. Yeah, it's interesting if you start it kind of like if you look at it like, I don't know exactly where the B-side starts on the vinyl version. It might be on Inversion, or it might be later. It might be Visceral Ends. And I only say that because Visceral Ends has that sort of like, I can imagine flipping the record over and it has the clean guitar with delay on it. And it's funny. I wrote in my notes I'm looking at, it almost reminds me of like a totally different version of Wherever I May Roam, the Metallica song that has like the sitar intro. Yeah. Like they probably weren't thinking about that, but maybe they were when they wrote that or came up with that or whatever. It's interesting. I've never thought of it that way, but maybe I've maybe just been listening to too much Black Album in the last few weeks. That could be it too. Yeah, it's interesting. And usually like this is a record I'm going to have to go back to as well, because this was like my first time listening to it. When it came out, I didn't listen to it either. And it wasn't because I was like, I have nothing against the band. I just wasn't really in the mood to listen to like this big moody ass record like this is. I wish it came out 2 months earlier. I would have been getting it every day. Yeah. No, I mean, hey, at least we're listening to it now. That's something. And they've been pretty consistent with records. Like it seems to be every few years, they're still putting them out. Like the last one was 2016, Shrines of Paralysis. But still, it's like for a band like this, you know, it's cool to see that they're still doing it. And like, I'm a little surprised because this is their first record on a label called Debemer Morty Productions, and they're a European label. And they normally do like avant-garde metal bands like Blue House Nord. There's other bands that I can't think of that are on that label. So yeah, I'd never heard of the label. I was surprised. I was looking it up. Yeah, initially when I'd first seen that they had signed to a new label, I was like, oh wow, like because they started out. For those who don't know, I believe Ulcerate is from New Zealand, right? Mm-hmm. They actually played a show the other night. They played a show.
No coronavirus.
Yeah, so it was like fine. Like I saw somebody in that technical death metal group on Facebook post the flyer, and they're like, "Hey, I get to see Ulcerate like in my hometown tonight." And like, and everybody's like, "Fuck, are they live streaming it?" And they're like, "No."
Oh, so really?
Yeah, so they just did. Yeah, they just played a show.
Fuck you.
Yeah, it was pretty wild to see. But they were first brought over. Like their music was first brought over to the States from Willow Tip Records, which is underground record label that like put Necrophagist out, put Arsis out, like put a ton of like very infamous death metal-ish bands out into the forefront. So when they got signed to Relapse Records, which was like I believe Destroyers of All was the last album they did on Willow Tip, and then Vermis they did on Relapse. I had thought like, oh fuck, like this is so sick. This band is getting the light of day. It was like when Spawn of Possession got signed to Relapse, I was like, oh fuck, these bands are like moving to these bigger labels. Like maybe that'll mean more opportunities in the States for them. So like, and of course, after they did Vermis, they did that Cobra Lounge show. Then they did Shrines of Paralysis and did like a full US headliner on that. And that was a great show. That had that band Zrine on it. You remember them?
Yeah, that was one of the better Reggie shows that I think we were all at.
Yeah, it was a cool
Bill,
one.
were you there? I can't remember, Bill. I can't remember if you were at that one. I know you were at the Cobra show.
You were definitely at the Cobra show, but the second show was Vuk. Yeah, okay. Vukari opened that, actually, the Reggie show.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's pretty
Fucking
wild.
Jace. How's Jace doing? Jason's doing okay, I think.
Yeah, he's doing a lot. He is doing a lot better. So,
dude, I'm stoked to hear that. I'm glad he's all right.
Yeah, man, he survived. He's a survivor. He's a survivor. Yeah, but
I do remember that being a great Reggie show, and one of those shows where like you have like the familiar faces, but also you're like, some of these people I've never seen before.
Yeah, it was. What's really funny is I believe. I could be totally wrong, but I want to say I'm pretty sure Rich was in Vukari still before before Jace joined Vukari when they opened this show, and Rich always hated Ulcerate. So like,
really?
Yeah, and it was like, I mean, that's like to us, like us guys in our community, it's like to get on a show like Ulcerate, that's like huge. It's a huge opportunity.
Yeah.
And like the show was packed, and I remember like talking to Rich about it. I'm like, so what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm just leaving after we play, and I was like. I was just laughing. He's like, I still don't like this band, but it's cool. We get to play with them. And I'm like, all right. But yeah, I remember like,
I mean, they're a band. I mean, I respect them for what they do, and they're not my favorite band in the world. But like, if I had an opportunity to like see that drummer like side stage, I would absolutely do it.
Me too. In a
like,
heartbeat.
That's ridiculous that he left.
Yeah.
That's insane. Well, and I'm not even a drummer.
Yeah.
You know, like,
exactly, right?
Crazy.
Dude, I remember we saw them at Cobra Lounge, and I saw Jamie in line for the bathroom, and he was wearing a Portal shirt, and I was like, oh, sick Portal shirt. And I was like, by the way, I'm a huge fan of your band, and you're really fucking sick. And like, I mean, I was so young then. I was probably like 23 or some shit like that. I was so fucking young, or 22, some shit like that. But I remember like that Cobra show specifically just being so fucking powerful. I remember the guitar, like I was standing on the side stage, or I was standing on the side of the stage the guitar player was playing on, and during the first song, his guitar strap broke. So he like got down on one knee and played like the rest of the song like that. It was so fucking wild. It was crazy. I just remember it being so loud too.
I think I got there after that happened. Like I was getting a drink at the bar or something. Yeah. And then he was playing a Les Paul for like the rest of the show. And I was like, what? This guy's not only playing a Les Paul, playing this music, he's also got 2 amps going, and he's like looping shit. I loved it. I remember that. It was, you know, what would be stage right, audience left at Cobra Lounge. Like just being floored by it.
Yeah, dude, when I remember watching them and just thinking about like, how fucking I don't know how a human being is capable of remembering how to play a full set of music like that. Right. Like how their drummer plays, and like, I mean, he's got to be like one of the most unique drummers in death metal. Easily. Absolutely. He's got to be. Like it's just
like
crazy.
All those guys have a uniqueness to their sound, which makes this band
exactly
much more unique.
Yeah.
Cuz like they're one of those bands where you hear like, I don't know, 3 seconds of a song, you're like, "Oh, it's Ulcerate." Like it takes no time to figure out, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, they're notorious. And one of my favorite parts, every time Ulcerate puts out a record now, they upload a video of Jamie tracking in the studio. And it's always like, they had one. I was like, I wonder if they did one for the new one. And I'm like, oh, of course they did. And I watched the whole thing. I'm pretty sure I made Sam watch it with me. I was like, this is so fucking sick. But I know that Ulcerate is also, I'm pretty sure it's like the love child of Jamie himself. Like, I know he writes, I'm like 99% sure he writes a majority of the lyrics. I know he does all of the artwork himself for their albums. I know a lot of it is him. So it's cool to see like a band and then it makes sense to me because I'm like, oh, okay, this guy is like, if he's the one that's like got so much creativity in it, no wonder he could remember these fucking mind fuck songs.
Yeah.
It's just so wild.
Reason eats it.
Yeah.
Hey man, I think the drummer always has it easier than everyone else in terms of remembering songs, but that's just my opinion.
You could be right.
The lyric part of it, though, I did want to say. So this is kind of lifted from their Bandcamp, but I mean, I did read a bunch of the lyrics, and obviously it's called "Stare Into Death and Be Still," and it's like the quote from the Bandcamp is that I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but it's like the album's lyrics explore death reverence. Which is death and tragedy aren't always sudden or violent, and that people are often passive observers and trapped. Ooh. And, that immediately resonated with me when I read that, even kind of independent. Like I read that before I actually got into the lyrics and was just like, yeah, like I've seen people die like that, die more of old age than anything. And that's sort of how it can go.
Yeah.
And it's a very, kind of cool. I mean, obviously they weren't making this record thinking about COVID.
No.
For fuck's sake, but Jesus, like people that are dying of COVID are definitely experiencing that.
Yeah.
You're saying goodbye to your family through an iPad, and then you're just gonna die. Like it's so. I think that's another thing. It was when it came out, it was almost like too relevant accidentally.
Yeah.
I mean, the same thing. I felt the same thing sort of about the Cattle Decapitation album when like. They had songs and merch that says like "Bring Back the Plague."
Yeah,
this is in like December of not 2019, and then like it literally fucking happened.
Yeah, pretty fucking wild.
Like crazy shit.
Yeah, almost wilder than the amount of T-shirts Cattle Decapitation was selling at that show. Do you remember that? Did you go down by the merch at all?
Yeah, of course. I wanted to buy a bunch of shit, but I was there at the end of the night, and so. I only ended up getting the tour shirt, a lighter, and a copy of the record Death Atlas.
Dude, I think they had I'm not even exaggerating, like over 20 different T-shirt designs. It was literally like the entire wall was covered in Cattle Decap merch.
That all around.
I don't know how they did it, but like
a second trailer.
They push it. They must push a ton of it too. So good for them. We haven't done Cattle on this podcast, I don't think. On these episodes.
No, I've thought about doing Death Atlas a few times, but I just other things have drawn attention.
Ulcerate was a good pick though, man. I gotta say I did love this record, like enough to where I actually ordered a copy, and I'm just like, fuck it, I need to like have this because I mean I think I have all their other records too, but like this was one where initially I was just kind of like, oh, another Ulcerate record. Like I kind of know what I'm gonna get out of it, but like once I listened to it, I'm like, I love this. Like this is so sick, and I don't know why like I put this off, or why I didn't like listen to it sooner. But yeah, I thought it was so cool, and it's definitely like it reminds me of like a cross between like Everything Is Fire and like the last album, which Shrines of Paralysis. Yeah. It's like, it reminds me of a fusion of that almost. And that's why I really, I dug this one a lot.
Yeah. I think the difference is like the vocals on this record are better. Sure. The guitar is more focused in my opinion, just because it's more like a one guitar thing. And as much as the drumming is always amazing, I feel like the drumming is a little bit subdued. It's not as much the center of attention all the time. And I kind of love that.
Me
I kind
too.
of love that it just sort of fits the songs. Not that they didn't fit the songs before, because I mean, my favorite description of Ulcerate, and Bill, you might remember this, comes from Joe Jans, who may or may not listen to this podcast, the original Roman Ring drummer. He introduced me to this band, and he always said that Ulcerate sounds like a bunch of stone zombies coming at the drummer, and the drummer is trying to fight them off with blast beats.
That's a great description.
That is pretty funny.
Yeah.
That is pretty spot on. That's wild, man. Do you remember what the first Ulcerate album was that you listened to?
No.
Okay. I gotcha.
No, I don't.
I feel like Ulcerate...
I can't place the year.
Okay, I gotcha. I feel like Ulcerate was always one of those bands that was... like if you mention them in front of a death metal dude and they're down, they're like, oh yeah, they're like the kings, I remember one of my first interactions with Danny way before I joined Roman Ring. I was still playing shows with the pre-Warforged band in his honor. We played a show at the Park Ridge VFW with Wasted Fortune, and Danny was on vocals.
Yeah.
And
I believe I was at that show. Right? No,
you might have been. I don't know. I didn't know who you were then. I had to
No.
I was wearing a Viljarda shirt, which is like a gent band, and we were on After Wasted Fortune. Do you know where this is going?
I think so.
Yeah, and then like I remember I was setting up my drum kit, and Danny came up to me and he was like, "Yo, dude, that's a sick Viljarda shirt. You ever hear the band Ulcerate? They kind of sound like them." And I was like, I knew exactly who Ulcerate was.
I'm shocked that he said Viljarda, right?
Yeah, and like in the back of, I don't even think he said it. I don't think he said the band name, but in the back of my head, the back of my head, I was like, why does this band sounds nothing like Ulcerate? What is he talking about? But I was just like, yeah, all right, man.
Sure.
Like, yeah.
But it was cool. Why did you join our band? Just because you thought I was so cool, or what is
I thought Danny was cool too. To be fair,
the selling point.
Yeah. Well, this was. I mean, that had to be a couple years before.
Yeah.
Like at least like a couple years before I joined. It was so fucking just like funny in my head, and I was like, wow, that's weird. Like, because I thought he was gonna drop a band that, because I was like, oh, this is Danny. He's in Through the Eyes of the Dead. He's in, or Joni. He was in Wasted Fortune. Like,
you knew who he was?
Yeah. Oh hell yeah, I knew who he was. We all knew who he was. We were like, oh, that guy's a sick vocalist. And then like he comes up to me and he tries to like up me with like Ulcerate, and I'm like, oh, that's it. Like that's his card. But like, okay, you know, like I respect it. And they're a great band. I love them. But yeah, I just remember thinking like, man, what is he thinking? They don't sound like fucking, I mean,
he was probably like just listening to him at the time.
Yeah, and that Viljarda album was like brand new. It was their first album, so I don't know. I don't think he would say that today. I don't know.
Had Ulcerate on his mind.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know what's funny is like, other than the internet hype that this record got, or the general internet hype, the general hype that Ulcerate gets whenever they put out a record, like I haven't had really anybody personally tell me like, you got to listen to this record. You got to listen to the new Ulcerate record. Like nobody had really said that to me. And I guess that's also another reason why it took me so long to like fucking sit down and listen to it. But shit.
I'm waiting for the Bill reaction, dude. Tell me you loved it or you didn't.
Yeah, I liked it. I did manage to actually listen to it front to back. And
really?
Yeah, I was at work and
you just threw it on.
Yeah, I had my headphones on, and yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of parts that I was like, oh yeah, it sounds like Ulcerate, and the drumming always like catches my ear like immediately.
Yeah.
And the riffs are just so fucking out there and bizarre that I'm just like, I don't know how this guy's doing this. Like, who thinks like this, you know?
Yeah.
But it makes them the band that they are. Like that's the first thing that pops in my head all the time. So I'm like, yeah, this is Ulcerate. Like that's it. Like
nobody sounds like them.
Sound. Exactly.
Yeah, nobody sounds like them. Nobody's gonna do it like them. They're like one of the most unique death metal
You're gonna be like called out immediately.
Yeah. Well, they're one of those rare bands that's just like they found a way to like reinvent death metal. They found a way to do it, and they're like the only band that does that. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. It's so sick because like I remember when like Fallujah was first coming on the scene with the Harvest Wombs, like their first album, and everybody was like atmospheric death metal, and that word started to get pushed around. Like Rivers of Nile put out their first record, people were calling that atmospheric death metal, and I'm not knocking any of these bands, but like when I listen to a band like Ulcerate, I'm like, yeah, this is like atmospheric death metal, like that's it to a T, in my mind at least. I didn't mean to cut you off, I'm sorry.
That's right.
No, it's all good. You didn't cut me off. Might have cut Bill off. I don't know.
I meant Bill.
Yeah, fuck you, Nate.
Fuck you, Nate.
Sorry,
I'm just kidding.
This is a consequence of not being in the room.
and you're on like I think like maybe a 1 second delay. I don't know. It seems like you're answering quickly, but yeah.
I'm trying to do my best, but sometimes I talk over you.
That's all right. But yeah, I mean, it's death metal. It's not my favorite thing in the world, but
sure,
it's cool.
Yeah,
that's
a sweet
the first
record.
Ulcerate album I've ever listened to, so that was fun.
Nice.
I've only heard them through the Jamie videos.
Sure. Yeah. It's a good way to listen to them.
The occasional Tom Hangouts back in the day.
Sure.
He like loves this band. I don't know if he still should ask him. I was just talking to him today. I wonder if he still listens to them.
Nice.
He like loves that band for sure.
Hell yeah. Do you have anything you want to
He was with us when we went to Cobra. Him and his little brother.
Yeah, him and Dylan.
Dylan did the best Jamie impersonation ever.
Oh yeah.
That still to this day kills me.
Yeah.
He nailed it too.
Yeah, it was sick.
Like,
yeah.
Fuck, he's right.
Yeah. That was so funny. Boom, boom, bing. Yeah. So sick.
It's so perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great party. I mean, that's how I remember it.
Dude, that was nuts, man. That was like before I really knew who Dylan was. I only had heard his podcast that you had edited. which was like very offensive and like
violently offensive.
I just knew he was like a nut job, and he's a couple years younger than me, I think even.
He was. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he's younger than me, and like I didn't know he listened to metal. Like I didn't know he liked it at all. So when he showed up at our practice spot, I was like, oh, he's probably here just to party. But then he was like, oh, he digs Ulcerate. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty wild. Man,
that was a good time.
It was so much fun.
Definitely can't do that now.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Like 20 of us packed in our little practice space.
I remember one of my coworkers at Russell's, because it was like in the winter, and I remember she got like at a grab bag or something that her husband went to. He won like a raffle, this big ass bottle of Grey Goose vodka. And it was like that set, remember? It was like, it came with like a shaker and a couple glasses. And like, she just gave it to me one day at work. She was like, oh, my husband's an alcoholic. He can't have this. So she like gave it to me and I was like, all right. So I brought it over to the spot and we like cracked it open and drank it like that night.
Perfect storm.
I don't even think I had any of it. Ugh.
It's a good vodka though.
There's a picture of me and Danny somewhere out there and Danny's like cradling the vodka bottle. So that exists on the internet somewhere. It was a good time.
Good times, man.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about the before time and all the fun we used to have with being social and stuff. I don't know if I have anything more to say about this album. I got to say, I absolutely love it. I think Ulcerate is probably one of my top like 5 or 10 favorite death metal bands at this point, you know.
That's awesome.
I would just request that next time they mix a record, just be careful with the vocal delay and don't have it on like super wet all the time.
Yeah, you hear that, Ulcerate?
Take that.
It just takes away from a little bit of the intensity. That's like my only negative thing. Just there are parts where you kind of like you get washed with the vocal delay when you're really trying to hear the drums and you're trying to hear the guitar shit. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
that's my one bad thing I'll say about it.
No, it's fair. So was this the first time you actually like really listened to the record? Was it around now, or were you listening to it months before?
I'd probably listened to it a grand total of 3 times since it came out before this week.
Gotcha.
There are certain times. I mean, that's one thing I didn't really want to bring up because it's just sort of lame to say. But if you're a person that wants to check these records out and you've never listened to them before, it's a great record to listen to while you're driving.
Yeah, hell yeah.
There's something about it. It might just be the fact that it captures a specific mood and it keeps you there. You know, especially right now, like we're kind of in the beginning of winter. It's sort of like a lot of dreary days if you're out in the daytime. I listened to it driving around, you know, Chicago in the burbs in the daytime. I've listened to it on the way to and from band practice. It fits both those, you know.
Definitely. Yeah, when I was driving to Sam's a couple times this week, and like that's when I really listened to it. It was like I listened to it half of it on the way there one night, and then half of it on the way back one day. And it was like perfect. It was so sick because it was just like, oh, this is great. It is great to drive to, and it like doesn't make the driving seem so fucking long and like fucking like dragged.
Yeah, you get lost in the mood of it. But if you're like I listened to it also while walking around outside, and a lot of the time I'll be looking at my phone, and so you're kind of you're more aware of how much time is passing.
Sure.
And I'll just be like, whoa, is this still the same song? Yeah, this is still the same song. It's been going on for 7 minutes already.
Yeah, and they're all pretty lengthy songs.
And that's what makes it hard to listen to, I think, the first few times because it's just so daunting. You're like,
yeah,
let me taste this album. And you listen to a song, you're 7 minutes in, you're like, well, I feel like I listened to 4 of them already.
Yeah.
How many tracks is this?
8, I think. I believe it. Yeah, it's 8.
When I pulled it up on Spotify, I was like, oh, it's not a big track listing, but it's a long listen. I was like, oof.
It's, let me see.
You really have to stretch out listening to it. But honestly, honestly, another thing is I'm not an expert by any means on Ulcerate's discography, but I do love the peaks and valleys and like the way that they have slow burning intros to most of the songs, but not all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think the way the album is constructed front to back is pretty fucking genius.
Hell yeah.
And that's why it's my favorite of Ulcerate stuff.
Yeah, I want to say they usually do 8. It looks like they usually do 8 songs on their albums, but on this album, there's only 2 songs that are under 7 minutes. So the majority of them are like 7 and above. So like, yeah, and the longest is almost 9 minutes. So like, yeah, I mean, I expect that, which is all right. You know, like for a band like this, it's like, if you know what you're getting into, Like, and that was the thing too, when I was driving, it was like, you know, I remember putting on the record and I was conscious of the time because like my car shows like, you know, when I connect like Bluetooth to it, it shows like the duration of the song length, like when I'm listening to it on Spotify. But what I remembered is like, I was paying attention to like, oh, this is still this song. Okay. But then like by the time I was on the fourth song, it's like I was already where I needed to go. And I was like, whoa, like I'm already here. Like, and I only got a couple songs in, and it's just so weird how it does that. But cool record.
Yeah, you get into the mood of it, and it changes the way you perceive time. You know, in only the way that like a cool record can.
Big time.
You're like, okay, I will be at my destination by the time the 7-minute song is over. Like, crazy. You know?
Yeah.
I'm sure if the band heard us talking like that about their art, they'd be upset.
Yeah, maybe.
It's still wonderful. It's still beautiful art.
Yeah, it's great. It's awesome. But yeah, they I don't know, maybe they would. But I don't fucking know, man.
They might call us the C word. I don't know.
Fucking conch.
In an endearing way.
Yeah, maybe in an endearing way. That's why I said that.
Yeah, man, there's a lot of cool fucking death metal in Australia, New Zealand. Man, I almost went with Disentomb on this episode. Another band that like sees the C word.
Could you imagine like being allowed to, because they pretty much don't have COVID or whatever, to like fly to New Zealand? They would never let you do it, but if you could, and you could see Psychroptic and Ulcerate together.
Yeah, it'd be nuts.
Maybe Disentomb as well.
Yeah, maybe. It would be fucking crazy, dude. Well, Psychroptic's in Tasmania, and then Disentomb, I think, is from Sydney. I could be wrong, though. Or Melbourne. Something like that. So, yeah.
But those people, they'd be able to travel probably within that country. They just wouldn't be able to let foreigners like us in.
Yeah, which I would not blame them.
The current world. Well, I got nothing more to say about this album than I love it. Everyone should listen to it.
Well, hell yeah. That brings us to your pick, Mr. Bill Fay.
Hey, Nate put it the Chicago Classic.
Yeah, the Chicago Classic for sure.
Yeah, this was so going with the theme of that we did Soil on the previous music
on the new metal episode. Yeah,
now we're doing the Soil guys on the death metal one because this is their former band that they did before.
So
Soil.
Crazy.
Which is always a shocker to a lot of people when you mention that.
Especially this band. Like listening to this album and then listening to the first Soil album, it's like, what is going on? Yeah.
Night and day, which is funny because for people that don't know, so Oppressor is the bass player, guitar player, and drummer from the original lineup of Soil. And then there's another guitar player on this. I don't know who he was, but
good luck.
Yeah, it's just those, and Tim doing vocals, which is like the craziest thing in the world. He claims that he can still do it, but I've never heard him do them.
Yeah,
and but I like, and I've seen live video of them. You can find it on YouTube. It almost looks like a public access show that they did. It's awesome.
That's nuts, man.
Like, Adam looks exactly the same, which cracks me up, and Tim looks totally different. He's got hair, like his hair is so fucking long and curly. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
So fucking strange, man. Yeah, I had such a fun time listening to this album because like so Oppressor, like this is gonna sound so stupid, but like I always used to get like back in the day I didn't really know of Oppressor that well because I mean they're considered an old school death metal band by a lot of people, but like they never really got that big. They were never like on the map really. They only had a couple, like 3 records I want to say, and they didn't like. I know they did some big tours and things along those lines, but like I feel like they never get mentioned in like as I think sometimes they should within the breath of like Suffocation or something like Morbid Angel or something like that. Yeah, you know, stuff like that. So it was like always like they were always on the outskirts to me. And I remember there was a band called Oppressor that was like a hardcore or deathcore band from Indiana. And when everybody would talk about Oppressor, I always thought they meant that band. And I was just like, really? Oh, that band's whatever. Yeah, I was just like, oh, whatever. And then like, I remember the first time I like checked out Oppressor was like, we were hanging out. We played that show. It was Roman Ring. We played the show with Alter Beast at Reggie's, and it was Alter Beast, Archaic, and Inanimate Existence, our good friends. And I was talking with Andrew of Alter Beast, and we were just talking about metal and stuff in Chicago and like because I think that was Alter Beast's first show or like second show in the city proper, like in Chicago.
Where are they from?
They're from California. They're from like he's at least from why can't I remember? Not San Jose, not Santa Cruz. Sacramento. Yep. Yeah, they're from Sacramento. And like he was talking to me. He was like, "Man, what was that like? You know, that big old school like Chicago, like that death metal band that was from here?" And I was like, "I don't know." Like I couldn't think of it. Right. I was like, "What is he talking about?" And then he was like, "Oppressor." And I was like, "Oh, weird." And I was like, "Yeah, that band." And I was like, I never listened to them.
Called me over.
Yeah.
Like, Bill, you gotta come here.
yeah. Cause like, and I was like, "Oh yeah, Oppressor, like Bill Tex for Soil." And like, it's just so funny. And like, I mean, granted, like I had never really listened to Soil either. Mm-hmm. Like, so it was like, going into this was so strange because like after hearing like that Soil album fresh like a couple weeks ago to now listening to this, it's just like and just the
way, big change
from like the first part of the first song on this album. It's just weird, dude. This weird clean guitar part where I'm just like, what is going on? Yeah, it's sick.
I love the weird clean parts, man. Yeah, that was one of my favorite parts about it.
It's so like I've never met Tim before, but I just want to be like, what were you guys trying to do? Like, what did you want to do?
It's a really good question, just because like as I was like listening to it, there's a lot of moments where I was like, oh, I've definitely heard like death metal bands do this stuff, but then I would like remind myself, oh, this came out in '94. Like,
yeah,
they were probably working on these in like the early '90s, you know?
Yeah,
and like how many bands were doing that, you know?
I feel like it's very influenced by like Morbid Angel and Gorguts a little bit. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, I feel like they're kind of contemporaries, but like the Gorguts of that era for sure. Mm-hmm. Also Slayer and Death. The Death influence is hard.
Yeah, definitely.
It's good. It's there. And it's sort of like kind of more what, if you're playing it today, there's definitely riffs that people would go, oh, this is old school death metal because it's a certain type of riff or like groove. But they were also doing stuff that I think at the time was considered pretty fucking technical.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like progressive stuff, like I said, kind of akin to Death. I didn't think dude, I love the vocals on the record. Honestly.
Do you really?
What does he do in Soil? He's the
bass
guitar player?
No, Tim's the bass player, yeah, with some backing vocals.
Dude.
But nothing like he does in Oppressor.
Yeah, I'm into it, man. I think it's cool. I think that guy, if he can still do that, he should still do that.
Claims he can, but like I said, I haven't heard it.
Yeah, it's just it's like such an eclectic album to me. Because like you got like, what was that song, Prelude to Death, which is like the piano ballad thing, and I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, what is going on?
I love that stuff.
Awesome.
I love that because there's also the other song. Was it the second song? Clips into Eternity has the intro.
Yes,
and it sounds like it's awesomely. It's really. I like how it's composed. It sounds like a horror movie theme, like
definitely.
a Halloween or something.
It's like, gotta be Tim.
Oh yeah, and he plays keyboards on this record too.
Yeah,
at least
that's what I saw online.
The Metallum page said that.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah, and I know this was on a label called so the album Solstice of Oppression, their first record, came out on Red Light Records, which I've never heard of before this podcast. I'm even looking now at the bands that they've had on here. I don't think I've heard of any.
They went bankrupt. I read about them, and it basically said they put this album out and the label went bankrupt.
Oh, fuck. Oh, wow. Damn.
Might be a reason why it wasn't bigger at the time.
Yeah, and I don't even, because it looks like they were on, the last label they were on was Olympic Recordings, which I want to say was like some subsidiary of Century Media at a certain point, but I could totally be wrong. Either way. Cool shit. But yeah, man, it's just such a like, I did not expect what I guess I didn't know what to expect, so I had no expectations because, like, this is a band I've probably listened to, like, clips or tidbits of their songs here and there, but never really, like, got into it all the way. Yeah, because I remember one of the other times I had first heard of this band, I had a buddy whose name, ironically, his name was Tim, used to be in this band called I Killed Everyone, who Rich, former member of Warforged, was in. My good friend Bob was in that band, but this was like long after those guys had left. Tim was their singer, and they had done an album on Pavement Entertainment on Tim's label.
Oh yeah, I think I remember you telling me about.
And my friend Tim had been telling me, he was like, yeah, like Tim King is saying that like Oppressor might be doing stuff again at the time, which was years ago now, but like, And he was just like, yeah, you remember Oppressor? And I was like, no, I don't. Like, I don't remember that. And Tim was like my age. So I'm like, what are you talking about? And then like, I like listened to it. I was like, whoa, this is like nuts. And I was like, doesn't the guy from Soil own this label? Like, what? Like, what happened?
Can I connect the dots?
And then like trying to, and then I remember getting confused because like, then you had Broken Hope, which Sean Glass was in. I don't know much about Broken Hope. Like, I don't know as much as enough to make any claims at least. But like, I couldn't remember if like Sean Glass was only in Broken Hope when they got back together, like way down the line, or if he was in the band on their old records, or what that was.
He was on the old stuff.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I think that was his band, dude. I think that was his. Basically, all the guys decided to start Soil wanted to do rock and roll. They didn't want to do death metal. And they were all like over doing death metal. At least that's what Sean has said publicly. You know, I'm not like close to the dude or anything, but that was the genesis of Soil. That's like one of the only things I know about that band and their history is that it was kind of like they all had decided to like do that instead of doing death metal.
They're like, hey, we could probably make money playing music, but it's not going to be death metal.
I'm not even going to say it was money that motivated them. If they say that, that's their
I don't know.
place to
I'm
say.
not sure, but
that's their place. It's their
a far
life.
more successful band, you know, at least monetarily.
I believe it.
Oh yeah, he was.
I believe it. But Oppressor, I feel like Oppressor got screwed probably by their label going bankrupt at the time.
Yeah, I'm sure that didn't help.
Especially in the 90s, I mean, labels did a lot more for bands.
Right.
I mean, it was definitely like a big deal to sign a record contract. Like it still kind of is in the death metal world, but a really big deal to do that back then. And
yeah,
I can only imagine they had some really just unfortunate luck in the business of whatever they were doing.
Yeah, which is a shame.
I think it's great.
I think it's great too, because like it could definitely stand up with like Effigies of the Forgotten by Suffocation. Like it could hold its own on something like that. And it's so unique, especially with like everything that was coming out around then with death metal. Like what you said, Nate, I definitely hear the death comparisons too, like from the band Death, but in the sense that it's like, oh, this is like forward thinking and different. You know what I mean? As opposed to what other bands were doing in 1994 as far as death metal was considered. So it's cool. And it's like, you could hear everything. You know what I mean? Like it's produced pretty well, I think, for the time being, at least, you know, that's my opinion on it. But yeah, it was just like, it was such like, I listened to it and I was just like smiling the whole time. Cause I was like, what the fuck? Like, especially Tim's vocals where it's just like, and I'm like,
I felt the same way too. I'm just like picturing Tim doing this. And like, this is awesome.
And what's funny is
Bill, next time you see him, you have to ask him to do Part of Dying Inside. That's the last song. That's like brutal as fuck for now, even for 1994. You should ask him about it.
Yeah. It's just like, it's really cool to hear that those dudes at least came from something like that, you know, like something along those lines. And it just like, I don't know, it makes like, not that I have any disrespect or anything like that for Soil, but it makes me like appreciate that more, just to being like, oh, you know what? Like these guys try to do it like that. They didn't like it that way. They're doing something else. Like good for them. Yeah. You know, and like, granted, I think it's funny because a lot of people like, I remember first hearing about like one of the first times I heard about the band Soil previously when I met you, somebody, and I don't even remember who it was. This is like one of those weird like memory disassociation things, but I remember somebody being like, oh yeah, that's like the butt rock band that the guys from Broken Hope and Oppressor formed. And I was like, what? Like, yeah, I was like, I don't know, you know. And I like, to be fair, I never really listened to much Broken Hope like at all, ever, until they got back. But even then I was like, there was never anything I was really into. But I will say, and I'm not trying to like
Broken Hope from Chicago.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They are. Yeah, they are from Chicago. And I will say, I do think I enjoy Oppressor more personally, but that's just based on like my taste. I like it more. Not that Broken Hope's bad by any means. They're a cool band. People like them.
Saw them live at Mojo's.
Oh, when Warforged played with them.
Like much of an introduction, but
yeah, I mean I barely remember them at the show.
Yeah, I was too busy like talking with everybody else.
Well, that band got into a lot of shit too. Like I remember they got into a lot of shit, like with Deicide when they did a tour with them, and like all kinds of stuff. But like, you know, it's just, this album is so like, I'm surprised that it like, I don't know, maybe it's one of those, because this is one of those records I could see getting like the deluxe reissue treatment, like vinyl pressings now.
Did get repressed on vinyl.
Did it recently?
was it 2 years ago?
Oh, cool.
And it's done really well, actually.
Really?
Yeah,
I wonder who did it.
I think, I don't know, maybe Tim did it. Like,
that would be cool. Sure. I wonder if he has the rights to it. Because what's like, I've heard various stories about bands that like they'll put out a record on a really weird record label and then it'll get acquired by some, like the best example of this, I guess, is Misery Signals. Their first 3 albums were put out on Ferret. And the reason they can't make represses is because Ferret's not a label anymore. They got bought out by like Sony or Universal or something like that. So they acquired all the rights to all that shit. And then they shelved it. So now these guys are like, well, we would love to do this, but we can't. Like, we don't have the control over that. Yeah. So, but I mean, granted, a label, I don't know how big
Ferret. They could buy it.
Yeah.
They could buy it, but it probably would be an absurd amount of money.
Exactly. And like, I don't know what a situation like this was with a label, like whatever they were on. The Red Light District. What was it? What did I just say it was called?
Red Light District.
Red Dead Redemption.
Red Dead Revolver Light.
Yeah. Red Light Records. Yeah.
You did say Red Light. It's actually called Roxanne Records.
Roxanne
by Sting and the Police.
Roxanne, put out a presser.
So yeah, one of the funny thing was, since I have a direct line to Adam and Tim, I shot him a message because like I didn't really want to do it with the Soil one because that record is so big that I'm sure they've talked about it to death.
Sure.
Know? So I asked him about this one. I was like, is there any like interesting trivia or any tidbits you can send my way? And they delivered for sure.
Nice.
Adam did, which cracked me up so bad when I asked him. And he said, so this is Adam. He's like, that'll be good. He's like, Tim's the walking Wikipedia. He's like, I'm sure he's got some good stuff. Maybe the time Tim couldn't load out because his nipples hurt from getting pierced. And I was like, well, I meant more stuff about the album or the band, but that works too.
I didn't think that was where this was going.
No, not at all.
That's sick.
So bad.
Was that an oppressor show?
It must have been.
Yeah, jeez.
I was like, thanks,
That's
Adam.
the 90s, dude.
Thanks, buddy.
Nipple piercings on dudes in the 90s were a thing.
Hell yeah.
That's legit. You were cool if you had a nipple piercing.
Well, good for Adam. I hope Tim. I hope he kept him in.
I don't know. I don't think he did.
The thing about nipple piercings is they can decrease your sensation, which might be worse for some people than others, but I wouldn't risk it for myself.
I'll ask him.
They look cool.
If you get one, I'll get one.
If I do,
if you get a lefty, I'll get a righty, or vice versa.
I don't know, man. Let's revisit this in 5 years. How about 5 years from now we revisit this conversation?
1 year.
All right.
Okay, 1 year. 1 year feels like 5 years right now anyway.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Sure.
But Tim did actually give me some information, which was nice.
Nice.
But he was telling me, so on that album, they did 2 tours. One was in Canada with Gorguts.
Whoa.
Yeah, so
wow.
Give me some money.
Which is crazy, right?
Damn.
I guessed it right.
Yeah,
and then
for real.
One in Europe was the Cradle of Filth, Malevolent Creation, Vader, and Ancient Rites.
Whoa, that's so nuts.
Isn't that crazy?
Was that on this album cycle? Mm-hmm. Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah. What was the second one?
Europe with that, which is crazy. Cradle of Filth.
Okay.
Malevolent Creation.
Wow.
Vader and Ancient Rites.
Damn, that's a fucking...
Yeah.
Wow, that's nuts, man. Holy shit.
And then he mentions the re-release, which they added 2 tracks, which are on the Spotify.
From the Spotify version, yeah.
And I actually liked the one where he kind of like does this weird talking into like a scream vocal. I was like, that's the shit. I loved it. I thought it was so cool.
Well, I have to admit, I was crunched a little bit for time. I did not listen to the demo.
Oh, they're fun. If you got an extra couple minutes, man, go ahead and check them out at some point.
They're cool.
No, but what I did do is I checked out Agony, the last album they made.
Okay.
That shit is awesome.
Sure.
It's just better. It's just tighter. Like, Bill, I wanted to ask if you have an opinion on like what the hell
what's up
is going on with the guitar tone on this album. Like, you said there were 2 people playing. It kind of sounds like one guitar is mostly up the middle and it's the loudest one, and then there's one kind of that's slightly panned to the right that's really quiet.
Yeah, I don't know. I noticed that too. Like, as far as I know, they were always a 4-piece with 2 guitars. But yeah, when you listen to this album, it almost sounds like one most of the time.
Yeah, it's not a flattering picture. I mean, it also kind of sounds like some kind of pedal, whatever the time they needed to use to like get the gain. But yeah, I don't. I guess I'm just used to the convention of you have a doubled guitar at least, one's pan left, one's pan right, or you have one guitar and it's panned wherever you have. But it threw me off a bit listening to it. I mean, I'm sure it was just a product of the time. Like,
yeah,
I kind of like how raw it is. Like, I'm not saying that I want the drums to be quantized and I want the vocals to be distorted. Like, I like how honest it is. I do.
Yeah, it's a cool. It's such like.
I just remember thinking a lot. I was like, man, I feel tired listening to this drummer just do double bass for so much for so long. I was like, his little legs have to be burning.
Yeah, they definitely got to be burning. Is that the same drummer in Soil?
Not currently. He was the original drummer.
Oh, was he on the album that we did?
I want to say yeah. I think that was Tom also. Wow. He did the first 2 albums and then he left.
Okay. That's nuts. That's crazy they toured with Gorguts too. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
I wonder if that must
in Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was before Obscura. I think it might have been. So that would have been like
that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Maybe no one was there, but it was amazing shows.
Right.
Yeah, I bet. That would have been, I mean, people would probably kill to see that. Yeah, that was when they were touring on their second album. Holy fuck. Wow. That's pretty wild. I wonder if he ever still talks to Luke LeMay.
I don't know.
Or anything like that. That'd be cool. And I know Tim obviously still digs death metal.
Oh, yeah.
Like
for sure.
signing Pathology and shit like that. Like, and that's like real death metal.
And Adam always have like a toe in it for sure.
That's cool. Yeah, it's cool that
like
they still do that shit.
Way more cred than I am, which is funny. Because like one of the reasons I even found out about Oppressor was I was rocking a Suffocation shirt.
The one I gave you? Yeah.
And Tim was like, "Oh, sick, Suffocation." I was like, I guess. I was like, my buddy gave this to me. Yeah. I'm like, I don't really listen to all of it. Just, oh, they're sick. He's like, we toured with them. I was like, what? And he was like, not with this band. I was like, what fucking band? And he's like, Oppressor. And I was like, I didn't even know. And yeah, which is
that's
pretty
wild.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. Damn, I wonder who else was on that tour. That fucking Cradle of Filth tour is insane, though. Vader,
Europe, how huge that must have been.
Probably giant. But that had to be probably pretty early in their career as a band. Yeah, if it was like 94.
It was on this album, man.
That's so wild.
And what also cracked me up, because this is why I love Tim, was like the last thing he said to me in this little trivia that he gave me was, it almost sounds like a plug for like a review, which cracks me up. It was like, the album has been hailed as influential technical death metal album, but was ahead of its time along with bands like Pestilence, Cynic, and Atheist. Like, yeah, Tim, we get that.
Really? See, I guess I see what he's saying.
But he's right. I mean, I could totally see how. Definitely. I mean, like the dude from Alter Beast was like, that band's sick. And like, look at that band. They're fucking sick.
Exactly.
And they're influenced by somebody like Oppressor. Like,
very wild.
Cool. Yeah.
I love the album cover too on this album. It's so weird and gross looking. And like the logo is all fucked up. And like, it's funny because I looked because I was like, man, this is a really like, it was one of those logos where I was like, damn, this is hard to read. And then like I looked at their other album covers and it was just like a typeface logo. And I was like, oh, I see.
The other thing that cracked me up with our text is because like I said, Adam's trivia was great.
Yeah.
Not really about the band. So then of course Tim had to throw Adam under the bus as well with,
no.
He was like, there was also a time Adam tripped and fell down a flight of stairs at rehearsal, and the time Adam didn't change the currency at the border, and I told him he was a dipshit, and he jumped out of the van and started pounding on the window, telling me he was going to kill me.
Whoa!
Which I've heard that story multiple times, and it's funny every time.
Damn.
Which I love. That's why I love those dudes. Like, they're so funny. Like, they've been doing it for so fucking long. They've been friends for fucking ever, and being in a band that's like, they're pretty much brothers, and that's so fucking funny. And it shows when you hang out with them. Like,
oh, I'm sure.
Seeing the two of them together is just like the funniest thing in the world.
I wonder what it's like when like you go from being in a death metal band like that to then, obviously already being experienced in some type of touring circuit to then going to like a band like Soil. Like, and then you're just like, the show's got to be so drastically different. And like,
oh yeah.
It's probably wild. What's up, dude?
I really have to pee.
Go pee, man. Yeah, go pee.
I'll be right back. You can pause the conversation. I was trying to wait till the album was over, but I can't.
Oh, it's okay, man. Just go. Was this your first time listening to it?
Yeah, like an actual album. I've watched the live videos of them, and it was cool to see, but it was fun to listen to. Like I said, I'm not a death metal guy, so it's like not the top of my list to always death metal stuff, but it was cool. Like I said, it was interesting to hear it because like the few death metal that I have heard or been exposed to is mostly newer stuff, obviously. I like hear it in this, and I'm like, oh, it's crazy. But then I keep telling myself like, oh, this was like in the early 90s.
Yeah,
like,
man.
It's so crazy.
It's wild
now, which is awesome.
I wonder where they recorded the record.
I don't
Probably
know.
nowhere that I even know.
I looked it up. Now I can't remember.
I want to look it up, see if it's on here.
Somewhere on the internet. I did find it when I was doing some research.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny. Like, yeah, like if you were to ask like Tim or Adam, like death metal and anything, like they'll be able to answer most of your questions. Yeah.
Yeah. Damn, dude.
Out of it, which is funny.
See, some guy named Jim Harvey and Ron Reed did the record.
Mm.
And
Jim studio.
I don't see. It doesn't say.
I thought I found that.
At least on the Metal Archives page, it doesn't say. But this guy, Jim Harvey, I'm assuming is like a Chicago dude because he did a November's Doom record back in the 90s. And let's see. Riley Reed. Oh, same dude. Maybe they worked at a studio together. Interesting. But yeah, very like such a fucking strange like anomaly of a band, in my opinion. Like just so interesting to me. It's so cool though. Like I don't know. I really dig it. I really dig that. Like the funny thing was I remember looking at because I was like, man, this album cover is just so fucking weird. Like it was just so weird to me. I was like, I wonder what this is supposed to be. It's like some shit, but like I looked at the artist's page to see like what other, if he had done any other bands, and he had done a bunch, and he did this band called Quo Vadis that I really like.
Oh yeah.
We mentioned them when we had Dylan on from I'm drawing a fucking blank. Proto-Sequence. Yep. Proto-Sequence. And we were talking about Quo Vadis because they're a Canadian band, and he did one of their album covers that I always liked. And I was just like, oh no shit. Like this is crazy. But yeah, it was, it's cool. It's just cool how weird it looks. Like I would love to get a shirt with that on it. I wonder, like, yeah, man.
I don't think they have any merch or anything.
Probably not relevantly, at least, or like currently. I'm sure. Yeah. I was looking on Google Images. They definitely had shirts for that album.
Well, I'm sure.
Like back then, but
man, yeah, no, I'm like, I know talking to Tim about it a little bit. Like, there's been like this weird resurgence for this band. Like, their numbers have gone up in like plays.
I believe it.
Sold like vinyl and stuff like that. And
well, it's because old school death metal is like the new shit for everybody now. Now you got all these new bands trying to sound like, Entombed and stuff like that. So it's like, I'm sure they're jockeying a band like Oppressor because it's like, oh, this obscure band from Chicago that only put out a few albums. It's just like this cred thing now.
Who else knows it? Nobody else
exactly.
knows it. Yeah.
Exactly. Weird, but that's cool. Yeah, because
it'd be cool to see them do something, but I don't.
Yeah, dude. Even if they did one off in Chicago, I bet it would sell out. Yeah. I bet it would be nuts.
I'd fucking go. I'd be there in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I'd go too. Yeah, same.
But they'd probably have to do it at a big venue because they just like post about it from the Soil page. People be like, "Oh, I love Soil. I'm gonna come see these guys for some time."
Yeah, and then be severely
crossover fans there are.
Yeah, I wonder too.
Such a huge difference.
It's so different,
like night and day.
It's funny because like this is like death metal, and like Soil is very like. Just like they so embrace what they do.
Yeah, the alt rock thing.
Yeah,
it's 100%.
Exactly.
Yeah, like on the other side, it's 100% death metal.
Yeah. Oh man.
I'm curious. That's something I should ask them. I'm wondering how many fans or what the reaction was too.
Yeah.
Because I think there was a point where they were both bands were going.
Yeah, it looks like there was crossover towards the beginning. Yeah.
And then eventually,
just so wild.
Soil took off.
They could have played shows together. That would have been cool.
Well, because you had mentioned that Tim is like a fan of like Motley Crue and shit like that.
Oh yeah, he loves
like hair metal and stuff like that. Yeah. So I guess I understand that.
I mean, even Adam too. Like they're like any musician where it's like they listen like a little bit of everything.
Okay.
And some of their influences are more different. Like all of us here, like we're not always like, oh, we only listen to technical death metal.
Of course,
we all listen to weird shit.
Yeah.
So like same thing, and then eventually it was a thing of like, well, fuck it, why don't we try to play in a band like that? Lo and behold, it's born. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. What's crazy is like they're probably one of those few bands that like can say they reached success with their death metal band and then with this band,
right?
That's a pretty like hard thing to come by, to have like two opportunities like that.
Can I get in here for a second?
Yeah,
and
come
just
on
say
in.
one thing. I love your podcast. I listen to all the new metal episodes. So you guys are aware of this. Maybe not everyone listening to this one is, though. That band got fucked over by 9/11.
Yeah, we talked about it, didn't we?
I know you did. You did. And I knew that before you did, but I'm like, that needs to be reiterated. Like, Soil would have sold probably like 4 times as many records they did, for that record at least, if it wasn't for, the biggest tragedy in my lifetime at that point, gripping the nation, destroying. I mean, it's unfortunate that everyone died, but it's also like, it had a lot of a ripple effect, and that was a big part of it. Like, fans put out their record that day, got fucked.
Cracks open White Claw.
I know.
The bands that got screwed over on 9/11.
Yeah, dude. Well, wasn't System of a Down wasn't that
like the week before?
No, they had the week before.
Okay, there we go.
They squeaked it in.
I love the episode, by the way. I love hearing about Toxicity because
that's a great album.
I listened to that album recently and was like, oh, this is cool. I like it.
Yeah, me too, man. That's such a fun album. But yeah, this album was definitely was. I guess I didn't know what to expect, but it went beyond my expectations for sure.
I had no idea what to expect either.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
I was totally like, this could be amazing or this could be really bad. And I think I like it.
Me too, for sure.
I like the other album. I like the later one that they did just because Agony.
Yeah.
It sounds better.
Yeah, I'll have to check out their other records because I know they got one after that too. Mm-hmm. So I'll definitely be listening to those. I saved this one in my library, so I will be listening to it again. Yeah, I'm going to try and check out that vinyl reissue too. Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
See what's going on with that guy. Yeah, that would be cool to have. Just cool. Because it's I feel like there aren't I don't know, maybe there are and I'm just being ignorant and I can't think of them off the top of my fried brain, but there aren't really big seminal death metal bands from Chicago. There's not a lot, at least from back then, that are still going. No,
I mean, you got Jungle Rot, which is kind of a Wisconsin band too.
Yeah. And they got that death thrash crossover type thing. But yeah,
Dysphoria kind of counts now.
Sure.
Even though Matt Karajek's the drummer, but the other guys, they were doing it back then. They were an early 90s band.
Yeah. Another question I should ask Tim. Wonder who they played with here back then.
Yeah. And where?
When they were coming up. Yeah.
The Thirsty Whale.
Yeah, right.
Riley's Rock House for sure.
Oh, I guarantee it. Yeah.
Where was that at?
Aurora.
Nice.
Yeah. Riley's Crack House.
You guys remember Doug's Rock House in Aurora or Doug's?
Yeah, I saw Through the Eyes of the Dead there featuring D-Rod on vocals.
Oh, nice. Yeah. With that Whitechapel show.
I think 2 different times.
Whitechapel and with Despised Icon. Both of those tours went to Doug's. I remember that. I didn't go to either of those shows. Because deathcore wasn't cool. I would have still gone. I know. I wasn't that kid. I would have gone in a heartbeat. I just didn't. It was Aurora, and I lived in Oak Park. I didn't want to go. Yeah, I didn't even have a license then, I don't think.
Could have hitched.
Yeah, could have tried. Take me to Aurora. Should have hit up Sam, dude. Been like, hey, you don't know me yet, but let me get a ride.
Drive all the way to Oak Park, pick me up.
Yeah.
And then bring me back.
But yeah, I mean, this band, because when especially when Andrew was like, yeah, Oppressor, and I was like, I should know this. It's Chicago. I should know this shit. But yeah, Dysphoria, that's definitely I would definitely agree with that. But still, it's I feel like none of those bands, they don't have they're not on that Suffocation level or the Morbid Angel level or Cannibal Corpse is a big reach.
This band got way further than Dysphoria. Dysphoria now is probably bigger than they were because they never made a record. That was the whole thing with Matt joining the band was first they were like, we're just going to do a reunion show because people want it. And then they did. And they were like, well, we have all these songs. We never made a proper recording. We're going to record them. And so they did.
Nice.
And they played a bunch more shows.
Isn't Jimmy Doomed in that band too?
Yeah, he plays guitar.
Okay, gotcha. Was he an OG in that band as well?
I believe so. I'm pretty.
That'd be a fun guy to have on the show.
He plays guitar and bass.
I don't know him very well, but
I do. I think I know him. I feel like I know him well enough. I could probably get him on the show.
Should hit him up. That would be cool. Talk to him about that.
He's a great dude. I love that dude.
Yeah, I've had a couple interactions with him. He's been nothing but nice.
Total sweet dude.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
It'd be interesting because I always see him post like all these sick old like death metal shows. I'm like, fuck. Wish I was there. Wish I knew what death metal was then.
Yeah, you're like 5.
Yeah, man, it's crazy.
I mean, I had this inside joke for the longest time where I would see him and be like, "Dude, you cut your hair," and he'd be like, "No, it's in my hat."
Right.
And like that happened probably like 6 or 7 times. I think he actually just thought I was completely stupid after a certain point. And now I think he actually cut his hair. He might not have.
Yeah,
he's
now shaved.
I thought he was bald. Well, he's been bald ever since I've known him.
No, he
met him, I thought.
To keep it in
that's
the cap.
The thing.
His hair used to be long as fuck.
Whoa. Yeah. Okay.
And then
I inadvertently
through
my bad memory, definitely maybe insulted him like accidentally a couple of times. I honestly forgot.
That's fair.
I don't know. I don't think Jimmy gets all that mad.
I don't know.
He's like such a nice guy. Like I don't think he gets upset that easily.
No, we've always been cool. But I feel bad for that now that I look back on it.
Yeah. Well, you should. I'm just kidding.
I wouldn't do it again. Now that he actually cut his hair, I wouldn't be like, "Hey, man, did you get a haircut?" Like, I just won't acknowledge it.
Fair.
Yeah. Ooh, yawn. Zion away over here. So, do either of you have something?
We're doing it?
Yeah. Do you guys have anything else to mention about this record? Or are you guys good?
No, I feel pretty.
I already said my part about the guitar tone, so that's it.
Yeah, it's fair.
Take that, Adam.
Good mention.
No, I just want to know. I want to know, like, what they were going for, and like what. I mean, maybe there's probably a story there. Maybe there isn't. I feel like there probably is.
Maybe not. Who knows? I don't. But yeah. So that brings us to the piece de resistance of the episode, the literal magnum opus of this band. And the magnum opus of this episode is Deeds of Flesh's brand new and final record, Nucleus.
Yeah, the record I was going to pick before you picked it, but...
Were you really?
Nope. Still, you fall for that every time.
Fuck!
It's like the third time I've gotten you.
At least the third time I've heard it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I got to say, Deeds of Flesh is like, to me... Ever since I've heard them, like the first time I heard Deeds of Flesh, it's just like it clicked with me. I'm like, this is death metal that I love. Like this is like the definition of death metal to me is this band. It's crazy. It's technical, like barely no parts repeat. It's very rare. Like it's just this assault on your fucking head for like until the song's done. And then it's like an ass beat every time. And like, I just love this fucking record. I didn't know what to expect from it. So for people that don't know, Deeds of Flesh, death metal band from California. They've been around since the 90s. They were kind of some of the spearheads of like technical death metal in America, at least. And especially from like the West Coast, like they kind of pioneered the whole scene out there, the whole death metal scene out there. So, like they started Unique Leader Records. Unique Leader Records was ran by Eric Lindmark, who has passed away, who was the leader of Deeds of Flesh. He started Unique Leader with Jacoby, the bass player of the band, and they picked up all these cool ass bands. I mean, they pick up a ton of bands we've talked to on this show. And talked about on this show. And they're just like a legacy. To me, they're like a legacy band. They've been around forever. They got a ton of records, and yeah, this is their final album, Nucleus, and the whole deal with it was like
final album.
Yeah, their last album because Eric passed away. So Eric, the guitar player and the vocalist, was like the brainchild of Deeds of Flesh. It was his band. Mm-hmm. After their last album, Portals to Canaan. Let me pull up the stats here. But basically, he got sick. In 2013, he developed like tendonitis, and then it got worse. I forget what he actually passed away from. But he ended up passing away 2 years ago. I want to say, I think 2 years ago. 2018. And their last record before this was 2013. So they kind of stopped touring once he got tendonitis. They became kind of like a studio thing. And this is like this album is just like the culmination of like the stuff that Eric had written for the record, the other guys finishing the record, and like them getting all of these fucking guest vocalists on the album to help with the vocals. Not only that, Jacoby, their bass player, who hasn't been in the band for years, came back to handle the lead vocals on the record, which I thought was really cool. And yeah, it's essentially just like, I think it's like, I just love it. I love it because it's like, it reminds me of like what I would get from a Deeds of Flesh album if Eric was still alive. But on top of that, it's just like such a good, like, oh, this like touches everything I love about this band and just like explodes it. And it's just such, I don't know, to me, I can't, like, I don't even know where to start with this record because I like it so much and I'm such a big fan of it and I'm such a big fan of this band and I'm glad that I finally got to talk about this band because this is I'm sure I will definitely be talking about other records of theirs on this eventually, but I'd always planned on doing it, but this couldn't have worked out better because this came out like a week ago from this past Friday, and it's just crazy. It's crazy to see it come into fruition because once I heard Eric had passed away, I had kind of thought like, wow, I bet they're never going to do another record because I knew they were working on one. I knew they had been working on one. They got Darren Seska to join the band on drums on this record. They had gotten, I think that was the only new addition to the band. And, you know,
the name sounds familiar.
He played drums in Arsis for a bit on We Are the Nightmare. He was on that record that has like the 8 snare drums on it.
It's four snare drums.
4 snare drums.
48 snare drums.
Yeah, it's like, and I'm not the biggest Darren Seska fan. I actually don't really like him as a drummer, but I thought he ruled on this album. I love, he's awesome on this record. Cause like Mike Hamilton is like, cause Deeds of Flesh used to be like a 3-piece. It was Mike Hamilton on drums, who's the king. He's so fucking good. Eric on guitar and vocals and Jacoby on bass and vocals. Jacoby left. And then eventually once they stopped touring, Mike left and joined Exhumed. He's been playing with Exhumed ever since. Like, you've seen Exhumed with us. We've played with them. And Mike Hamilton's been there. So
like you have to make that.
Yeah.
You
have seen them. I know you have. And like,
I believe you.
Yeah.
I don't believe my memory of it, but I believe you.
But I remember talking to Mike at a show and I was like, dude, you're one of my favorite drummers. I love Deeds of Flesh. Oh my God. Like, you're so sick.
That's
but
awesome.
like what he's playing with Exhumed is like nothing compared to what he's doing with Deeds. Yeah. Like, I mean, he rips on those Deeds records. Like, they were one of those first bands that was really like playing at a lot of really fast tempo, other than like Nile and shit, you know, playing at some really high tempos and shit. It's just like, it's crazy. I love this album. I think they did a great tribute to Eric as like a dude in death metal. I think they did a great tribute not only to Eric but to Unique Leader Records, because a lot of the guest vocalists on this album are all guys that were in these old school Unique Leader bands like Disavowed, Inherit Disease, who we've talked about, Decrepit Birth, Severed Savior, Odious Mortem, like all these fucking bands. Luke LeMay from Gorguts is on this.
Oh, cool.
Corpse Grinders on a song. The singer from John Gallagher from Dying Fetus, and it's awesome because it's like they got these guys. Because it's like now, and I shouldn't even be saying it because of Warforged, king of guest musicians. Like, it's like, it's just so crazy because you'll see like all of these fucking bands being like, oh, we got Trevor from Black Dahlia to do a song, or like, oh, like, you know, like all these like obvious gimmies. And it's so sick that like they really just didn't go for something like that. Like, yeah, they got big names. They got Frank from Suffocation, they got Corpse Grinder and Luke LeMay, but they also got like a bunch of guys from bands that I feel like a lot of people don't know about. Like, at least on the surface, it's not like a Travis Ryan. It's not like, you know, a Trevor Sternad.
You called Trevor a gimme, dude? I'm sure if we try, we cannot get him to do vocals on our album. Not be that.
No, I don't think. I mean, not in that way, but it's like he's
like,
on so many songs now, man. You see him. I see him like literally like a couple weeks ago. I saw that he was a guest on a song for a band.
Post Malone?
No.
Well, then who cares?
No, it's not. Oh, you mean if Trevor was on a Post Malone song?
Yeah, that'd be the shit.
Would you listen to it?
Hell yeah.
Would you like it more than the Ozzy song?
Maybe.
Take what you want from me.
You have to do the growling version of that.
Yeah.
I bet Danny could do that. I bet Danny could do a sick cover of that song where he's just growling the whole time.
Anyway,
sorry. Yeah, I didn't mean to digress from the album.
That's okay.
I think you said a lot of the stuff that I wanted to say, man. I was just going to say that it was a beautiful tribute to Eric, you know, all things considered. Like, I can only dream that if I died unexpectedly or expectedly, that my band would be able to do what they did with this album, and not only finishing the songs, but also having a serious all-star cast of people coming and doing vocals for it. I mean, my favorite, it's hard for me to pick a favorite song on this record. I think it's probably a tie between Nucleus, the title track, with John Gallagher from Dying Fetus doing vocals.
Yeah.
And Catacombs of the Monolith, which is the one that Luke LeMay does.
Nice.
Because it's Luke LeMay not being Luke LeMay from Gorguts, and he sounds more like Chuck Schuldiner to me. I know I keep bringing up that stuff. But like, I'm not going to say never realized it, but you hear that influence from Chuck Schuldner's vocal style on Luke LeMay more than when he does Gorguts stuff.
Definitely.
And so I love that. And like John Gallagher, dude, you can actually kind of, there's like a whole thing I wanted to say about the guest vocals. If you didn't tell me, or Spotify didn't tell me that there were guest vocals on some of these songs, I definitely would have noticed that Luke LeMay was somebody different. But a lot of the people that are just doing growling, I might not have noticed.
Yeah.
Like the way that it's mixed and the way that like everything is kind of even and the same. Like I thought Corpse Grinder was going to sound way more brutal, but it doesn't really. It doesn't really sound much different than the original vocalist of this band.
Yeah, Jacoby. Yeah, I agree. And Jacoby's vocals sound great on this. That's kind of why
they do.
That's why. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to say no. I for just based on the name for a second. But yeah, Jacoby's vocals. Like, I think that's a testament to that dude. Like, not being in the band forever.
Yeah,
you're competing with some of the best vocalists in death metal. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's nuts. He sounds so good, and like he hasn't done the record. Like he hasn't been in the band for years, and he hasn't even done a band since then in years. Like he hasn't done a band in forever. Like I don't think he's done a band since Deeds of Flesh since he left, because he's got a family and whatnot. But yeah, it's just like I wanted to pick, like, the reason I picked Alien Scourge as the checkout song is because it's one of the only ones that doesn't have any guest vocals on it. Like it's just him doing the whole thing. But man, it's just like this whole record is an ass beater. I think my favorite song is probably Races Conjoined, which is towards the end of the album, but it's just got so many parts in it where I'm just like it makes me want to pass out. It's so fucking intense. It's just like crazy, and it's just so like I don't know, I love it. It's just such a fucking like crazy record. Even like, because like I do kind of find the intro track a little cheesy when it's got like the battle samples and like the war samples. The thing is, this is
what is the story behind that?
So this is the past three records, Nucleus is the third of a trilogy. It's a concept record, which is basically about aliens coming to Earth and harvesting human beings, and then like humans like overtaking the aliens. That's what this record I think is kind of about.
So it's like the Skyline trilogy. Go on.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. Skyline. Oh well. Anyway, yeah. So that's what I guess this is like.
There's like one person out there that might have got that.
Yeah, I didn't get it. But like the intro track, like what's been funny is shout out to the Cali Death podcast. If any of you guys are watching this, because I watch every single episode of your fucking show. They've done a couple episodes with the Deeds guys. Like they had the OG Deeds dudes, because Mike Hamilton came back to write the lyrics for this record. Their old drummer, which was really cool. They had him and Jacoby on an episode where they talked about this, and then they had some of the newer guys in the band. Craig Peters. Craig used to be in a band called Archaic, who we played with at that Alter Beast show. They were the headlining band. Craig had been out of that band he's only on like their first couple records, and then he stopped because he didn't want to tour anymore, and then he joined Deeds of Flesh. So this is only his second record with that band. He was only on the first one prior to this, but apparently from what he had been saying, the majority of this stuff was all written by Eric, and he only like would fuck with the solos and some of the riffs here and there. And it's just like crazy to hear like what Deeds of Flesh went from sounding like to what they ended up like to what they're doing now, like the intensity of it. It's just like, it's crazy to me. It's one of those bands where I look at them and I'm like, they really tried to keep upping themselves every single record and like really did it. But you know, then again, it's like you could look at it because it's like they have so many like towards the end of their career, their records, it took them years to make them. Like the last record was 2013. I was with Adrian the day I bought that record at Reckless Records. I remember, like, it's nuts. So it's just cool finally seeing like this be the punctuation to this band. Not only is it like, I'm getting another Deeds of Flesh record, and I know it's the last one, which sucks, but like, it's great. It's like I couldn't ask for anything sicker than that. So, and even the end, like that weird like Viking funeral song where it's like you hear the waves and shit. Definitely goofy, but I thought it was cool.
Right.
Yeah, it sounded like Skyrim or something. Pretty wild.
I did want to compliment, as much as I am generally not a fan of any kind of sound design, orchestral, fake instrument bullshit on death metal records. I think on this album, it might be cheesy in context. That's kind of a subjective thing. It's very well executed.
Yeah.
Like, I think Craig Peters makes a living doing that shit.
Yeah.
Like sound for games or sound design, and it's pretty well done. I'm just gonna say
it sounds phenomenal.
Yeah, like it doesn't sound like bullshit. It sounds like, no, they really cared about this and they thought it out. Not something that I'm always that into, but I will say that I think that was a strength of this record. I will say, as maybe the opposite of that is like, it's kind of odd that I could just, maybe it's because of the unique leader connection. Zach Oren definitely mixed this record, and I knew it from the second I heard like the first note.
Yeah.
And I'm 90% positive that Craig probably recorded most of the guitars by himself at his house and then reamped them in the studio. Like, it just doesn't, the way the guitar tone feels to me and sounds at times, I'm sort of like, okay, this is just what they did. This is how so many records are made.
Yeah.
It's a bit of an assembly line vibe to it. That being said, I still think it's a beautiful tribute to Eric, and the vocal thing is so cool. Like, it's so cool they're able to have like legends kind of pay tribute to those songs.
Yeah.
You know, I'm by no means shitting on the record. I really enjoyed it. And it was so funny listening to just Alien Scourge and then going back and hearing all the songs with all the different guys on them.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, well, yeah, this is an insane thing. It's not like a fluid, flowing record in the traditional sense, but it's a beautiful tribute. And, reading that Darren Suska played drums, I even feel like he underplayed a little bit compared to how he normally wants to.
Same.
Not just because there weren't 4 snare drums, but just,
dude, I remember
the riffs are sick. The riffs like do the thing where they change. One riff will have 4 different feels in it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that's amazing about this band is that's not easy to do.
No.
And make it sound easy.
Yeah, and that's like their bread and butter is like the riffs. This band is such a riff band. They've always been like that. I remember the day I was on Lamb Goat and I saw them make the announcement that Darren Suska had joined Deeds of Flesh, and I was so mad. I was so pissed. I was just like, fuck, there's going to be 10 snare drums on this. I'm going to hate it. Yeah, because like, have you ever heard...
It wasn't you. That's why you're pissed.
Well, I definitely can't fucking handle that shit. Maybe one day, but like, fuck, man. Like, have you ever heard We Are the Nightmare by Arsis? We'll do that record at some time.
A million times.
Yeah, I know you have, but I'm asking Bill. And so you know how whack the drums sound on that album.
Yeah, I might have heard a track or two from Tom, but if
you ever listen to it and listen to the drums, you'll be like, what is going on? Yeah.
I know it's a big album, but
it's so when I saw that, I was just like, God damn it. Like, that's my favorite part of this band, and they're getting this guy to do it. Like, I didn't know. I mean, that was even years ago when they announced he was in the band. Like, Eric was still alive. Mm-hmm. That might have been like 2016 or 2017, something like that. And then like they put out this record, and they didn't really announce everything right off the bat, or at least I didn't pick up on it, because like they announced that Mike was part of the project. So I was like, oh, maybe Mike did play drums on this. And then I heard the song and I'm like, fuck, the drums are nuts on this. And then I was like, oh, that really was Darren playing on it. Like, I was very surprised, but it just sounds so fucking good. It sounds, it is definitely assembly line production, like you kind of said, and it is Zach Oren, and you could tell that definitely.
I'm just saying, it sonically just sounds like Craig recorded all the guitars. Zach reamped them. Zach mixed it. It just has that character.
That's what they did. I know Darren recorded his drums on his own. Craig did the guitars on his own, and I think Ivan did the bass on his own. They probably just sent it over to him, and yeah, that's probably exactly what they did. But like, I just love it, because like, if you go back, like, Nate, have you ever listened to Deeds of Flesh like on your own before this a lot?
Yeah, but not. Well, I would say yes, no, yes, but not a lot. Like, yes, I can appreciate what they do. but I can't jive with you about their entire discography.
That's fair. One of these days I should pick like Path of the Weakening, because it's like a super old school record by them with production that's like the opposite of this. And I would be curious to hear what your take is on that.
I'd probably like it more.
Yeah, I think you would. And we will do it. Like I want to do Dawn of Ashes or something like that, because like it's just such different. It's still the same band, but it's like so different, but it's so sick. It's just like bald guys with fucking BC Rich guitars and Jackson Warriors, like sweaty guys. Fucking, I just love it. It's just like, I don't know. It's just such a sick vibe. And like, I think that California death metal vibe, like early Decrepit Birth, Disgorge, this band, like that's probably like, that's like, to me, that's like my favorite kind of death metal. Like if I'm thinking like straight up death metal, like that's it for me. But like, you know, it's just really cool. Cause like, this is like the California band in mind. When I think of California death metal, it's like Deeds of Flesh is the first thing that comes to my mind. And they really like, they did so much for the genre. They did so much for so many bands that we're friends with, and like bands that we've toured with and shit, and like bands that we know. Like, you know, Eric was the guy that was signing like the Zenith Passage, Inanimate Existence, Alter Beast, Archaic. Like he was the guy that always had his ear to the ground and was picking up all these up and coming bands. And like,
did he sign Hot May?
Yeah, he did sign Hot May. Like Craig used to tell me that he would like email Eric, and I was like, that's fucking nuts. Like in my head, I would think that.
That's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like awesome. Yeah. And it's just like, it's a great tribute to him. And I'm really glad that they were able to do something. I'm just glad they were able to do something about it. Like they were able to like make it all happen. And it's really cool the way they did that. It's cool that they released a record in December, because I feel like usually it's a cutoff. Like there's not a lot of new music that comes out towards the end of the year like that. And like everybody's posting their top 10, and I'm like, what the fuck? Deeds of Flesh isn't out yet. Everybody, what are you fucking doing? Yeah. And it's just, to me, like, I don't know. I can't get enough of this record, and I'm just so excited to like listen to this album like whenever I want now. Like, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like, oh, I can't wait to like really dig into this, because it's like I listen to a song like Races Conjoin, and it goes so many fucking places, and all of the riffs are just like an ass beater, and I'm just like, I don't even know what's happening right now. Like I know there's one part in this song that I think is exceptionally sick, and then I'll be listening, I'm like, wait, but is this is sick? Is that part, or is this that part, or is that the part? It's just wild to me. Did you like it? No,
not at all. No, I did. I liked it. Yeah, it's fun. Kind of like what Nate said about Ulcerate, where I was listening to this, I was like, why don't we sound like some of these fucking riffs?
Yeah,
like,
right?
Man, there's some great fucking parts on this album.
Definitely.
They're just awesome. Like,
so
awesome
good.
Metal, you know? And it's just, yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, fuck, I wish I wrote that. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, who knows? Maybe that'll influence some of the newer stuff we do.
Definitely. I don't know what, like, I don't even know if this band is going to be a band after, you know, I don't think they're going to do anything after this. Like, this is it. And like, I'm satisfied with it, you know, like they got all the dudes like, I mean, I think when I think of like early Unique Leader, it's like Disgorge and Deeds of Flesh, because they started around the same time. They were both on Unique Leader, and like they got Maddie Way to do like guest vocals on, I think the song, I think it is Races. It's either Races Conjoined or Terror he's on. That song, the second to last song, but yeah, it's so fucking fun to listen to. It's just like, it's crazy. And the guest vocalists just make it so much more fun, like picking out everybody, because that's exactly what I'm doing. Like, who's that? Who's this guy? Who's that guy? But I thought it was really cool. I
thought it was harder than it should have been. Like they all kind of sounded like the same person sometimes, you know?
I would agree for sure. What's cool is
interesting.
I believe they put like a stream, I think it was like the day before the album came out, and it's still on YouTube. Like Unique Leader Records put out a stream of the album, like an early stream, and they show like who's singing. Like they'll like list the name of who's singing when they're singing. Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. And I know on the song you like, the title track Nucleus, Matt from Decrepit Birth does a guest solo on it. I think at the end.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
You know it now, man. I'm glad that like you got to listen to this record too, Nate, because like I feel like I'm always like barking down your throat about this band.
You're definitely a champion of Deeds of Flesh, but
yeah, me and Danny, man.
I feel like this album's a little bit bitter. It's just bittersweet, you know. I don't want to be. Oh yeah, it doesn't flow like a record, because of course it's not. It's this like tribute thing, and it's not the cohesive vision of a bunch of people playing music together.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, it just makes me want to listen to more Deeds of Flesh from, when Eric was still alive and when they were kind of more on top of the world, if they ever even were, for like an underground death metal band. But yeah, honestly, I just was really disappointed in the way that Corpse Grinder sounded on that song.
That's
like that really. I kept listening to it over and over again. It was like, did I miss him? What's going on here?
Yeah, I'll have to fucking. I mean, it's like I'm so enthralled by everything else about this band that I feel like I don't pay attention to that shit right off the bat. But I do remember thinking that too. I was like, oh, that's Corpse Grinder.
Here's the thing, like I didn't either. Like when I initially heard this record, I was just absorbing everything without really looking at the credits. Sure. I wasn't looking at my phone or I was listening to it. So I didn't even realize that there were guest vocalists. Like I kind of heard Luke LeMay and was like, okay, this is different. Oh, it's Luke LeMay. But hearing the rest of the tracks, I didn't notice it as much. And I noticed more like stuff about the sonics of the album. Like I'm pretty sure Craig tracked himself playing guitar, right? Guitar. And I can tell because the strings don't always sound like they're that new. Sometimes the notes are a little bit sharp. Like there's just like little stuff like that where I'm like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that he recorded with Zach before, years before the pandemic.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing that he recorded a lot of that stuff himself.
Yeah.
And I can hear it.
Dude, two funny things I want to mention about this is before, like earlier today, I was with Sam and we were driving in my car and I wanted to listen to like the second half of this record before like we did this because like I'm very familiar with the first half and I was like, all right, I want to listen to these songs again. And I just asked her straight up, I was like, all right, like bare bones, say whatever the fuck you want. Like, what do you think about this? And she was like, I really don't know. She was like, to me, it just sounds loud and fast. She was like, cause I mean, granted, we were listening to it like on the highway and on my car stereo, but even then she was like, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of melodic aspects to this. Like there's nothing I could latch onto other than the drums. And I'm like, that's so funny. I'm like, because the guitars are playing like melodic notes in a sense. Or every once in a while when there was a solo, she'd be like, that part's cool. Cause there was like a clear guitar melody, right. But like otherwise a lot of it is like really fast 16th note riffing. And she was just talking about how percussive it sounded. And I was like, oh, maybe that's why I like this band so much is because it's so like percussive-ish in a way, like the guitar playing and, and so many words. But I just thought it was funny because it was like, man, I think about like guys like us listening to it and we're so used to music like this. It's like Nate could listen to that and be like, oh yeah, that note sounded a little sharp. Those strings sound a little like those strings don't sound super new. And I'm just like, wow, like, dude, like I can't even pick that up. Like, imagine like, somebody who doesn't listen to any metal, like what they must think about something like that. It's just, it's so funny. Cause I was just like, well, like, I guess you really, cause I remember years ago.
Well, most people hear the whole picture. They don't hear the individual elements.
Exactly. And I remember like years ago, I listened to like a podcast Vincent from the Acacia Strain did. And he talked about how like, because a lot of people say he's like, oh, he's a vocalist. You could really understand what he's saying a lot of the time, which I agree with. But like, he was just like, you know what? He was like, yeah, that's true. He's like, but you also got to think like people that listen to this style of music, your ear is trained for it. Your ear is trained to listen to screaming. Your ear is trained to listen to heavier things. And like, you'll be able to understand me more. He's like, I guarantee you, if you show this record to your grandma, she would have no fucking clue what I was saying. Yeah.
Yelling nonsense.
Yeah. So it's just really interesting to think about that. Cause that was like the second time I think like today, that was like when it came to my mind.
I was just explaining that to somebody because they don't listen to metal. And I was like, they're like, well, what do you get out of it? I was like, well, you got to understand, like people like me and my buddies, we listen to this stuff so much that we kind of get past all that and we do listen to those individual parts and we can really nitpick it, but I mean, people do that with other music without knowing it. It's just whatever they listen to the most,
exactly.
Eventually get past all the little, the big stuff and you're able to hear the little stuff.
Yeah. It's like active listening, Exactly. It's like, I could listen to a song and like tell you what the drum part is, you know what I mean? Or like do my best and be like, that's a snare, that's a kick, that's a tom,
It's like any activity really. Like the more you do it, the better you get it, the faster you get at it, the more accurate things are. And it's the same thing with music.
Yeah. I'm still waiting on my pre-order for this record. I bought a lot.
Really?
Yeah, but a lot of merch for this one.
A lot.
Yeah. Just because I've been waiting for it, man. Like I pre-ordered the last, no, I didn't. I pre-ordered. So the fun fact, I discovered Deeds of Flesh because I initially saw them on Veil of Maya's MySpace page under influences.
Oh, they were one of the bands.
They were on their influences. That's how I found Spawn of Possession and Deeds of Flesh.
That's fun.
And I was just like, what? And then I listened to, they were about to put out the first record in the trilogy, which is called Of What's to Come. And that came out in 2008. So I remember hearing like the song, the first single on that and just being like, this is fucking insane. So I pre-ordered the record. I still have the CD and the shirt somewhere. Nice. But yeah, I remember thinking it was nuts. And they got the guy that did the album cover for the last three is this dude named, I'm going to have to look, Raymond Swanland. And this guy is known for doing art on Magic the Gathering cards.
Oh,
and shit like that.
My favorite card game.
Really?
I haven't played it in years, but yeah.
Did you play Magic?
When I was a child, I did.
Whoa, I never knew that.
That's a Nothing's for No One exclusive.
Last time I played, I was probably 16.
You fucking nerd.
Dude, we're going to have to whoop your ass next practice, man.
Get ready, man.
About to get some wedgies and swirlies.
Yeah, and that practice space toilet. Oof.
Ooh, yeah, you're
in for it, man. I'm just kidding.
That would be pretty bad.
It'd be horrible.
Toilet. Oof.
Yeah, with all the yeah. But anyway, I do want to so I remember finding them on that and just being like, this is fucking nuts. I remember the package showed up at my neighbor's house instead of mine. And I was really worried about it. And I didn't have the balls to go over there and just go get it. So I think I had my dad do it for me or some shit like that.
Where were you living at the time?
In Oak Park. I was living at my second home there. We were living on Ridgeland and North Avenue around that area. But I was young. I mean, this was 2008. I want to say that was my sophomore, junior year in high school. So it was just this was it. And I remember that record had a bunch of cool dudes on it. Mike Hamilton on drums, of course, because it sounds nuts. Erlen Casperson on bass, who played on Incurso by Spawn of Possession.
Okay.
Yeah, so that dude's a fucking ripper. Yeah, and it's just super cool to see that. It's cool to see that finished now because it was I pre-ordered that record and now I'm pre-ordering the last one, and when I get it, I'm gonna just take a day and get insanely fucking high and listen to those last three albums front to back and just vibe out and shake and convulse because it's so fast and sick.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anyway. Man, it should be you listen to that and you want to immediately play drums.
Yeah. Well, that's what this record wants me to do. It makes me want to do that. It makes me want to be fuck, hell yeah, That's why I'm pumped on some of our new stuff because some of it reminds me of Deeds of Flesh. I'm just yeah. Like Danny's song 3.
Don't leak that shit to the public yet.
I'm leaking it, man.
More exclusives.
Yeah.
Nothing's irrelevant.
But anyway, I just love this record, and I'm really glad that we got to do that do this one on this episode because it's fresh, it's brand new, it's only been out for a couple weeks. So if you haven't heard it, fucking check it out. I can't recommend it enough. That might be my favorite metal record of the year. I don't know though because there's actually a lot of really good metal that came out this year. Surprisingly, at least I feel like I listened to a lot more metal than I have this year within the past couple of years. So I had that. I had new Acacia Strain, new Misery Signals. Granted, those aren't exactly death metal bands, but you know, there's some yelling going on. I'm glad you liked the record.
I loved it. I thought it was awesome. I just kind of didn't really get the concept at first. You tricked us. You didn't pick an album. You should have picked an album that was more of an album by the band.
Sorry, Nate. You get what you get.
I still enjoyed it. It just was, it's this big, wonderful tribute compilation thing.
Yeah, I'll pick.
It was a bit of a wild card. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I'm going to do Of What's to Come eventually, which is the first of the trilogy. And it's also less conveyor belt sounding and it's more cohesive, I would say, because it's got obviously the same dudes on it doing everything. But Eric Lindmark was such a sick vocalist. And I remember when Alien Scourge came out, I was talking with Danny about it and he was like, yeah, man, it's all right. But the vocals aren't because Eric used to do all these crazy vocal patterns over like the 16th notes, like da, 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 da. You don't really hear that on a lot of this, but some of it you do. And it's just different. And I was just like, I could see why you might get hung up on that. But then once the album came out, Danny was like, this is fucking nuts. Like, yeah, it's a cool record. And it's cool that they got like, I don't know, Frank from Suffocation, who honestly, I think he sounds kind of rough on Races Can Join. I was kind of like, man, this dude does sound like he hasn't done vocals in a few years. Like, pretty wild. But yeah, Jacoby sounded great on the album and like cool delivery, cool. I just think everything about it I really enjoyed. And I'm glad that they finally fucking got it out there into the world. And that's all I got to say, pretty much. How about you guys? All right, now I got a real important question for you. How old were you guys when you realized that Santa wasn't real?
I'm 36, so 35.
Okay, last year. How about you?
Heartbreaking.
I was probably like 6 or 5, maybe.
Whoa, really?
Younger.
That young?
Fuck yeah, dude.
Dude, I still believe in
like
Santa.
6 or 5. Yeah. How old were you?
When I stopped believing in Santa, pretty young. Probably. I can't remember the exact age.
Through low numbers, and you're like, it was actually like 12, but
no, I want to say
it seems about right. Like it was 5, 6, 7. Like
yeah, probably something like that. I want to say it was when I realized the Easter Bunny wasn't real, and then the Tooth Fairy. I know what it was. It was when I lost a tooth. It was like I was young. I was probably like 6 or 7, and like I caught my dad slipping a
$1
under the pillow. And he was like, "Go to sleep," and like.
You caught him.
I'm the Tooth Fairy.
Yeah, I was like, hey. Yeah, and then I'm like, oh, none of this shit is probably real, huh? And then I remember I would always put together in my head, I'm like, wait a minute, if Santa is at the mall, how the fuck, does every mall have a Santa? How does he have all these malls at the same time? Like, it didn't make any sense. And my dad would always tell me there's multiple Santa Clauses. I mean, yeah, technically. But
so he like perpetuated the lie. He was just like, oh, you got me. He's like,
my dad never like fessed up to that, I don't think, to this day. Like, I don't think
he never tried to like lie about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was talking to Max the other day, and he was talking about, because like a lot of the guys that he works with are like older dudes that have families and shit, and like, you know, they have kids. And he was talking about, he's like, man, if you had a kid, like when would you tell them that like Santa's not real? And I was just like,
tell them.
Yeah, same. And I was just like, I don't know if I would tell them. But then he brought up a point where I was just kind of like, yeah, well, I brought up a point. I was like, if I like spent a lot of money on gifts for my kid, I want them to know it was me. Yeah, I want that credit, man. I'd be like, yeah, I bought you that shit, dude. Be nice to me.
Right. Or at least get like a shitty gift and be like, Santa brought that.
Yeah.
I brought you the cool shit, so fuck that guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Santa brought you the socks and underwear.
Yeah.
And here's your Nintendo GameCube.
Man. You're looking at it from the wrong perspective. Like, you're just all about getting the credit. But in reality, you should be, if you are a parent, you should be like all about your kid being smart enough to realize that it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, eventually, but
that you're not a liar, or you are a liar. Like, I don't know if I would do that at all, personally.
Yeah. I wonder if it's like gotten more difficult now to believe in shit like that. Now that like, yeah, because the internet and like kids have iPhones now and shit.
Dude, yeah, kids can Google, is Santa real?
Fuck.
Yeah. No.
Is Santa real?
No, dipshit.
I wonder what
Santa's
I want to see what
real
happens
if you
when you just
believe
Google
it.
that.
Santa real.
I just want to see what comes up.
Yeah, what comes up? Like, he's real if you believe.
Like, how old are you?
Santa Claus, also known as Father Christmas, Saint Nicholas, Saint Nick, Kris Kringle, or simply Santa, is a legendary character originating in Western Christian culture who is said to bring gifts on Christmas Eve to well-behaved children or coal for naughty children. There's no fucking...
It was legendary.
Google pulls up a Santa tracker 3 days until Santa departs.
Oh, maybe he is real then. Google believes it.
Should you be lying to your kids about Santa? Time magazine. How to explain the Christmas question, is Santa real? The Washington Post. USA Today, is Santa real? What to do when kids ask questions about Santa Claus? Okay. I wonder what they say. I'm going to look.
They probably tell you to go with it until your kid figures it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You figured it out. It's part of your development.
But eventually they'll hit an age where you're like, all right, there's no fucking way you should be believing this.
Yeah.
It's like, all right.
Well, that's kind of that's the problem with that approach is I feel like I was asking that from as long as I can remember. I'd be like, We don't have a chimney. I live in a fucking apartment.
Yeah.
You don't leave the door open. I always leave the fucking door open. This makes no sense. What are you doing?
Right.
But when you're a child and you still get gifts and your parents want to say they're from Santa, you don't fucking care.
Yeah.
You're just stoked you got the gift.
And I feel like,
But yeah, like,
did your parents like hide the gifts before
oh yeah,
and then bring them out on Christmas?
yeah,
well,
man, you
yeah.
can't be leaving that shit under the tree.
My parents just put them there like the week before.
oh, they put them under the tree the week before.
Like immediately.
I knew a lot of people that did that. Mine never did though. They would hide the presents.
A lot for me.
Well, I started to find
Yeah,
that.
that's common.
Oh, really?
That's commonplace. It's commonplace, but I never had that in my life. It's always day of surprise.
Oh,
same day of surprises for me, which I like more.
And my dad was like, and to this day, my dad is still like, open up presents beforehand.
Really?
Yeah. Oh shit, that's gonna die. Keep talking.
A lot of people are like that. I feel like though, but I remember.
don't care.
Yeah.
I'll open the gifts.
Yeah, and but I like the surprise factor more because I feel like when the gifts are there, because I remember when I was a kid, when I was younger, we used to go to a family friend's house for Christmas Eve every year, like my dad's friends. And I remember their family would always put the presents under the tree in advance, and then we would all like guess what the presents were, and they're like, which one is this? Which one is this? Which one is that? It's like, fuck that. I don't want to know what to expect. I just want it to be like, oh, there's a lot here. What's going on? You know? That way I think it's a little cooler.
That's my drum set.
Yeah, right?
Clearly a drum set.
Yeah,
That's my drum set.
Bigger than the tree. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I always like the day of personally. But yeah, like I knew families that would open up gifts on Christmas Eve too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, what the fuck? What's the point of not being able to sleep the night before then because you're so excited to open up shit, you know? I mean, I remember
the opening
that.
gifts on Christmas Eve I've done a couple times in my life because of my slightly unconventional family situation, and it was fine.
Sure. Yeah. Well, this Christmas, I gave you my heart. The very next Nate. You Nate.
All right, we're gonna get copyrighted.
You already told me we're not jamming on Christmas, Jason, so
yeah.
Broke his heart.
that's all I wanted.
I'm down for Wednesday.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that's all I wanted.
Yeah, it's fair.
So this will be the last episode of the year.
Will it really be?
Yeah. For as far as like how this goes, and then the next one we record will be the last one we record of the year, but it'll come out afterwards.
Very true. Yeah, that'll be okay. Yeah. So this will be out on the 28th. Well, everybody, let's hope that 2021 is better than this.
It's got to be up. It's got to be up. Right?
Yeah. Maybe.
Can't be worse.
We'll see. Well, Trump's
2020 has been the best year of all of our lives. Let's be honest.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Fucking amazing.
Whew.
With that being said, Nate, you got anything to plug?
I mean, there's this obvious thing. Oh, wait. Hold on a sec. I think I might have one. Oh, God.
You were using it as a coaster?
No, I wish. Well, that would have been easier. We got, oh, fuck. I fucked up the camera. This Roman Ring album that is actually an album sort of on CD now. We got
sort
it,
of on CD.
The Halogen.
It's on CD.
Woo!
We did it.
You know, fucking order it on the internet and shit. It's cool. We have it. It exists.
We have it on our Bandcamp. So if you like our show, if you like our music, either way, if you buy one, it helps us out a ton. So please go on there and give us your fucking money, and I will send it out to you. So you got my fingerprints on it and shit, whatever the hell you want. It's there.
Jason was a murderer.
Yeah. So you should enjoy it.
That's something. I mean, shit. It's hard to plug anything else right now, but it's something.
Yeah, we got that. I'll plug 2021, hoping it's a better year. So hopefully
Plug
that's
that
the case.
Vaccine, you know.
Yeah, we have a tentative vaccine. We got fucking...
You got the Pfizer one, the Moderna one's around the corner, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully things
Get that shit as soon as you can.
Close to normal again.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
We'll play a show someday again if that happens.
Yeah, I wonder if this year we will see the return of live music, like, to any degree. Who will know? I wonder if I'll watch this at the beginning of 2022 and be like, you're an idiot, Jason, for asking that question. Or if I'll be like, hey, we're back at shows. I don't know.
Look how hopeful we are right now.
Hey, didn't you see Macabre play last week? Because I did.
Yeah. Right. Well, I'll go see when I have a fucking flu shot.
Yeah. When I get that vaccine.
Yeah. Then I'll go.
Any show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not yet though.
Nope. So. Yeah. You know what? I don't know if it'll get any worse.
I mean,
who knows? It's pretty low.
Some random people just start punching us all in our genitals, and it's like, oh yeah, this is worse. Like,
you know what? I hope to every single person that would just go on the internet and be like, this year sucked. Like prior to 2020, I hope they now like realize how much those years probably didn't suck compared to like this. You know,
after this, it's going to be a hard one to say that.
Yeah,
X year sucks.
Fuck this year. I just want to forget about it. It's like, okay, how about 2020?
Remember
how about
2020?
this? Yeah,
remember that? Yeah,
weird.
Right.
Fuck. Yeah.
Plug-in.
Well, I could just plug the Roman Ring CD again. So I'll plug the Roman Ring CD again. You can pick it up on our Bandcamp. I'm doing the shipping. So now if you order it, this episode airs past Christmas. So don't worry about getting it on time for Christmas. But
get it for next year's Christmas.
Yeah, make it your first CD purchase of 2021. A little bit of light in your life. And the more you guys buy this shit, the more we could like try and find some other items to get to you guys. Merch, I don't know, whatever the fuck you guys want. Cassettes, floppy disks, USB drives, download cards. Remember when Small Town Murder had download cards?
Download cards.
Yeah, yes. I had an Appendages download card at some point. I don't even know if I redeemed it, but I can't. One. I might have one. I don't know if I doubt I still have it, but I had it in like a desk drawer or something for a long time.
Well, hey, there's another plug. It's on Spotify and Apple Music now.
Appendages?
So,
oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. You could bump that. Very sick.
There.
Old school, Small Town Murder, STM in the house. Nate Madden in the house. Nate Madden in his house.
I'm in a home. I'm in
a home
somewhere.
Yeah. Well,
very good.
I'm hoping the band still decide to release cool music for us to talk about next year. So,
I mean, there's plenty of music out there.
Yeah, that's true. But it's nice. It's cool that like this was like somewhat of a silver lining on the year. It's like, oh, I still get a new Deeds of Flesh record. Like that's cool.
Are you kidding? 2021 is going to have like the fall, especially. I bet every band's putting out an album. Yeah. Everyone that didn't put out an album this year.
Probably.
So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, definitely. How about you? You got something to plug?
I guess I have to do the fucking Roman Ring album if you guys want to buy that, since you guys did it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's it. Something is Waiting. Always check that out, I guess.
Buy all of our shit.
Yeah, buy some stuff. We make more cool stuff when you guys buy stuff.
Yeah.
So.
And we know you're not doing anything with your money right now, so come on, people.
Plus, we're going to be getting that $600 stimulus check. Whoa.
Oh, is that happening?
I think so, yeah.
$600, huh?
Woo. We get to live another day, I guess,
man.
right?
That's fucking rough, man.
Everybody's rent for 1 month.
If that.
I mean, it covers my rent.
Yeah, that's cool.
But there's a lot of people out there that it doesn't.
Yeah, dude.
So,
wow, that's wild. I mean, I guess that's cool. Do we know when the expected time for that is to hit?
But I mean, it comes out to
relax, Wody. They'll come to you eventually.
$4 a day is what we're getting.
Well, that's cool. It's actually, I guess it's happening. I mean, I want to, yeah. 600. I mean, that's like a slap in the face,
like starving
dude.
To death, and like at least there's a crumb on the ground for me to try to eat. This is great. Thanks.
Yeah, fuck,
while
man.
Slamming like whole sandwiches in your face. Yeah. Anyway, we don't have to get into that. So yeah, Nate, thank you as always for doing the show.
Yeah, good talking to you, man. See you in a couple days.
Love you guys.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
Love hanging out with you.
Yeah.
We'll start writing some
Love
more
you too, brother.
Deeds of Flesh and Ulcerate riffs.
Yeah, let's do
next time we get together.
Let's do it.
Man, we really need those oppressor riffs.
I was going to say a dash of oppressor in there.
Yeah, those clean parts, man. Yeah.
Maybe we can get Tim to do a guest vocal spot.
That would be sick if he did, dude.
I would love that.
Yeah, I wonder if he would.
I don't know.
That would be dope.
Would. I think he would.
That'd be really cool. That'd be like a sick, like,
that'd be a sweet
flex too.
Yeah.
Be like, whoa, we got the dude from Oppressor and Soil on our record.
That would be fun.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Maybe if we get to that bridge.
Yeah, definitely. Well, sweet. Thank you guys for joining us. Death Metal episode number 6, Ulcerate, Deeds of Flesh, Oppressor. Check them out.
Check them out.
Check them out, guys. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace.
And I'm back, everybody. Thank you for checking out this episode of Nothing's for No One. If you liked what you heard, you like these records, or just liked us talking, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, share it with your friends, share it with anybody, share it with your grandma. It's the holiday season, guys. Come on. You still got New Year's by the time this one's out. Have a New Year's party. Listen to this. Don't listen to this. Do whatever you want to do. But thank you for checking it out. And if you like us, follow, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Deeds of Flesh, Oppressor, fucking... I'm having a brain fart. Deeds of Flesh, and Ulcerate.
Ulcerate!
Forever.
Ulcerate, stare into death and be still.
Yeah, so stare into death and be still. Bye, guys.